Our biggest critic by far is YouTuber and streamer Piratesoftware, who goes by Thor. If your only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been misinformed. This video is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying to stop it, and has been making up what it is about. I am not saying that lightly. I will prove it in a minute. Now you might be thinking, okay, so some YouTube...
So that sounds like Piratesoftware making up what it's about. Yeah, he's an industry plant, dude.
This video came out right as we were building momentum, then except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork. This put me in kind of a no-win scenario too, because if I ignored it, then a lot of people are going to get misinformed about the campaign.
Yeah, he kneecapped your campaign intentionally, and he's going to play it off like he didn't mean to, or like, no, you guys don't understand games, because he's smarter than everybody, guys. He's the smartest dude in the room, remember that.
To this day, I'm still getting frequent comments and emails about the same falsehoods about the campaign that originated in this video. Well, now I have nothing to lose. If we don't get the signatures, then none of this matters anyway. So if this campaign is failing because of me not talking about this, then I'll at least correct history here on the way down.
Alright, but anyway, we got to stop killing games here. So this guy, this was 3 days ago. So it's a little bit before the fallout. I bet if this guy had known that 3 days after he made this video, the entire movement he was trying to promote would get killed by a narcissistic gay furry, he probably would have changed this video. Because Piratesoftware has tanked this movement. So I'm of the mindset that I don't believe Piratesoftware is dumb enough to have done this by mistake. I don't believe he's, as whoopsie, like, well, I was just trying to be logical. I don't believe his bullshit for half the stuff he says, especially when it comes to gaming. I believe that this man is an industry plant. He worked for Blizzard, blew up as an influencer, and I think the industry still pays him under the table to push their agenda, because they don't want to preserve games. They want to keep they want you to keep buying new games so they can keep making money. They don't want you playing the old games you've already paid for. They want you to pay for new games. They want you to play live service games. They want you to keep paying for games until they decide that game no longer exists, and then you have to buy the next one, and then they shut the game down. So that's what he's done. He's taken their side on this. And if you're taking the corporation side, I'm sorry, I believe you to be an industry plant. That's where my mind's at on that. But anyway, tell us all about Stop Killing Games from a creator named Accursed Farms. He's got like 500,000 views on this, so it's not exactly a small creator. I've never heard of him. He does look like a Kmart brand Piratesoftware. Why do they all have that look? Get fucking haircuts. Do they not pay you guys enough in the gaming industry to cut your fucking hair? You've got a lion's mane in the back of your head, and your hairline stops midway past your head. Like your hairline goes all the way up to your ears. Like it's right here. And then you've got hair that goes down to your waist. Just embrace the baldness, man. Holy shit. Sorry. Maybe he's got good things to say. I don't mean to harp on his looks, but goddamn.
Ooh, this is probably the final update to the Stop Killing Games campaign. Though I'm coming at you a little bit like a time traveler would. It'll make sense in a minute. As a refresher, Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement to stop publishers from effectively destroying video games they have already sold to customers. Now, we've gone about this in many ways, but it's easiest to divide this up by things we've already done and things we can still do. Because
I wonder if he said that this will be his last update for this because he kind of knew that this was failing, or if he just thought that nothing would happen for a while.
About a dozen things we've already done. Yeah, in fact, here's a list if you want to pause this.
We will pause this. All right, we got a list of stuff here he's put up there. Action, submit complaints to the European Consumer Rights Network for multiple encounters. Dead end. So the results of that was a dead end. Submit a petition to the Canadian Parliament on the destruction of games. Results, dead end. Action. Make contact with the BEUC to influence the EU Commission. Results are ongoing. Submit complaints. In the verbal trail on the crew. Issue escalated to the agency, decision pending. Submit complaints to the DGCCRF on the crew. Results, issue escalated to the highest level of the agency, decision pending. Contact the UFC on the crew. Results ongoing. Submit complaints to French legal mediators on the crew. Still processing. Submit complaints to the ACC on the crew. Issue escalated to highest level. Decision pending. Submit a petition to the Australian Parliament on the destruction of games. Said they won't act. The ACC should be contacted instead. Okay, so that's the ACCC, as it must be an Australian thing. Ask questions of the EU Commission on the destruction of games. Said there could be a violation, but it has to be handled through the member states. Initiate a lawsuit in Brazil on the crew. Failed due to us requiring sales figures on the crew in Brazil to proceed, which we don't have. Submit complaints to the FTC. No response, but this was expected. Yeah, the FTC, I can tell you right now in America, they don't give a shit. Good luck in America. It looks like some of the foreign countries gave you a chance there, but yeah, here in the States, good fucking luck, bud.
Going over this again will be a video in itself. I'll talk more about some of this towards the end. So that just leaves things we can still do, which are only 2 items. One is for the UK to sign a government petition to bring this issue before Parliament. Though, keeping it real, I'm not terribly optimistic about this one, since the government response has been a mess by every definition. It's a long and boring story, but the short version is it's hit a bureaucratic roadblock and will stay stuck unless it gets more signatures. But the one that has a lot of power, so much so I think it could change the course of gaming history, is the European Citizens Initiative. Now, I said I'm approaching this like a time traveler because with the trajectory we're on, these are both going to fail. So
I think it all failed sooner than you thought, bud. We'll get to that.
I figure, why wait until they actually do to tell people? Both the petitions end in July. The Citizens Initiative in particular on July 31st. This video probably won't change the timeline. It's just a last-ditch attempt to wake people up on it. The European Citizens Initiative failing kind of stings. Again, this one is crazy powerful, but the hurdle we just couldn't get past was that it requires 1 million signatures from citizens of EU countries, and we've only made it just under halfway. That's really too bad, because I have high confidence this would have solved the problem of publishers destroying video games.
I don't know if it would have solved it outright, but it would have been a great first step. I think you're underestimating the power of these publishers, though. Because these politicians can seem like they're on your side at first when you've got the petition and you've got the signatures and you bring an issue to them. And then in rolls corporations and they lobby and they grease some palms, and all of a sudden the legislators are like, well, maybe this isn't as big a deal, right, guys? Yeah, and then that's what that turns into. So I'm not sure that this would have been the big win he thought it would, but it would have been a good start. Doesn't matter, it's too late now.
Now, why do I say that? What a lot of people don't realize is that in the EU especially, it's...
G'day, mate. We are learning about the death of Stop Killing Games. Because the gay pirate furry that everybody loves to hate, kind of tanked this entire movement. So we've got him to thank for that. Yay! All right. Anyway,
it's almost a state of lawlessness regarding the practice of game destruction. Okay, I don't want to put people to sleep here, but the quick legal argument is that the vast majority of games with an online requirement say they can be terminated at any time for any reason. Or Blizzard likes to say any or no reason. But
yeah, and that's the one that Piratesoftware was defending. The one from Blizzard. Wonder why. I'm going to keep pushing this industry plant narrative of mine because I do believe Piratesoftware is an industry plant. He's not a real gamer. He's not a real streamer. He's there to push their narrative.
But according to the EU Commission, that might be a violation of Directive 93/13 EEC, which protects consumers against unfair terms in consumer contracts. So if that term is unfair, that means that part of the contract is null and void. And if it's null and void, then what does the law say about how long your purchase lasts?
What'll more than likely happen, if it's null and void, it'll be void because of the no reason part. Not any and no reason, but no reason. So what'll happen is it won't make it null and void to the point where we won. It'll just mean that Blizzard's going to have to reword that, probably to match the words of the other companies other companies that are considered fair. So they'll just look at one of the companies that are fair and they'll just copy them. So it's not like that's going to get removed and you instantly win because of it.
Well, it doesn't. That's the whole mess. So if there are no legal guidelines, what are consumer expectations for how long video games last? Well, indefinitely. Even the average online multiplayer video games from the 90s can still work today if you didn't change the hardware or software. So the law wasn't written for this situation. The industry's terms might possibly be illegal, and traditional expectations are games last indefinitely. Now, of course, publishers...
It might be illegal, but you also have to lean on the fact that things are different now than they were in the 90s. So in the 90s, you did actually buy a game. But nowadays, they're not. The argument they're gonna fucking roll back to is that they're not selling you a game. They're selling you a license to access software they own. You never actually own the game. So they fall under the rules of like licensing and not the rules of like purchases. So it would be a little different. It's red tape and arguably semantics, but it depending on the interpretation, they could win on that alone.
Publishers can't support games indefinitely, but by not giving expiration dates or end-of-life plans, that might be the situation they've put themselves in. I cannot emphasize enough what a mess this is. If you were an impartial judge just trying to interpret the law, you'd have a headache. I don't know what you would do. You'd probably tell the EU Commission they need to make a law on this because this is a glaring omission. So being in the middle of this quagmire right now, if we had rolled up with 1 million signatures demanding that the EU give us basic consumer rights for video games, that would have been the easy way out for regulators, because then they would have a mandate. That's what I meant about my half-joke slide about politicians liking easy wins. This situation is such a mess that trying to settle this under existing law is more work than creating laws under a consumer mandate. And thanks to the action we've pushed at consumer protection agencies, doing nothing is no longer an option for multiple countries. We've made sure of that. But none of that matters because the initiative is failing.
Yep.
Now, my original thought was that ironically, it's difficult to get gamers to care about games because a whole
host of them think that these companies tell them what games should cost and they think they're powerless. I ran into this with the Nintendo thing where everybody pushed back against the I fucked that up. Where people push back against the $80 price in the games, etc. And so many replies on Twitter, games are $80 now, guys, we're cooked. I'm like, no, they don't have to be. You can just not buy them. The problem is this younger generation doesn't seem to understand that, like, you don't have to buy a game at day one. And if you don't, they'll change the price. If you just don't buy shit, then it won't be that price. But things keep going up in price because you fucktards keep fucking buying it.
A lot of people are cruising.
And I don't know what you do to change that mentality either, because there's more of them than there are of us. I've been fighting this fight for a while too. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know how you change that. I can point at times in the past where it worked, where we won and we got what we wanted and prices were lowered and things got better. But it doesn't seem to matter now. They just accept whatever these companies tell them to accept. It's why bundles in Fortnite for a while were $10 and they went up to $15. Now they're up to like $28 and $30. And people just go, oh, that one costs this much? No, just don't buy that bundle. And don't buy any of the bundles at that price, and they'll stop making bundles at price. Same thing in Call of Duty. When Call of Duty first started doing the microtransactions, they were, $10, $15. Now they're up to like $30 and $40. Like, stop buying them. They keep testing the waters, and you keep giving them what they want. More money. Stop it. Just fucking stop it.
I have maximum apathy these days. But I think it's more than that. For most of the past year, the initiative has bounced back and forth between being the third and second most popular active initiative in the EU. The only ones that topped it were far more serious social issues. So that says to me, the problem isn't getting gamers to care about games, it's getting people to care about anything. And frankly, that is a checkmate move. If people can't care enough to write...
Oh, if you want to get them to care about it, it's pretty easy. If we've learned anything from Twitter and covering all the drama stuff that we cover on this channel, it's that if you want people to care about shit, inject politics. Just inject a little bit of politics there. All you got to do is like find some proof that like, oh, well, you should not support this because they support Israel. Yeah, just inject some politics, make it about Israel and Palestine, even though it has nothing to do with Israel and Palestine. All of a sudden, half the internet will fucking care, and the other half won't be able to shut up about it. It'll become a thing. It'll become a thing. Oh, it's so sad. All right, let's go there. I think it just depends on how smart people are, because I've seen people 30 plus years old also buying Mario Kart at 80 and being okay with it. Yeah, the hardcore fans are always going to buy whatever slop these companies feed them. So when you see someone above the age of 30 just eating up the Nintendo slop without question, having to buy it all at day one, and those are the same fucking neckbeards who are on Twitter relentlessly defending them. Those are the same people who run the fan accounts that endlessly glaze their company. Those are fanboys. There's nothing you can do about them, but you got to change the mind of the general population, because while the fans are very vocal on Twitter and very vocal on YouTube, and they're in your comments, and they're very, very noticeable corporate shills, they are a vocal minority. I still think the average everyday gamer, the millions upon millions of people that Nintendo would need to justify these prices, it would need those people to buy them. And the same is true for any fan base. I say the same thing to Call of Duty fans when they're talking about how bad the game is because blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, as much as you hate that this game keeps catering to the quote-unquote casuals, without them, there is no Call of Duty. Call of Duty needs their money to survive. That's exactly the demographic they should be catering to. So Nintendo would need to cater to them, so you would have to like try to appeal to them in order to get this to work. And the problem is, I don't know how you get people to care, because people have gotten so used to like the culture for like your everyday average person is, this is what things cost now. These companies have gotten so good at their PR spins and their excuses that normies will believe whatever excuse that you throw at them. Because games cost too much to make. And the problem is like trying to get them to understand that they're being lied to. And then your game comes along, like Expedition 33, that proves all of that shit wrong. And now you have to find a way to get those normies to pay attention to that fact, even notice it. Because they notice that Expedition 33 is a great game. It's Game of the Year contender and blah, blah, blah. And everyone is talking about how great the game is. But it's hard to get the normies to understand that this game was only made by 33 people. That's why it's called Expedition 33. Like, the actual like production of the game is unknown to most of the normal people that just heard about it and want to play it. So you got to get that word out there, because, hey, this game's only 50. You got to get people to think beyond just what they saw in the game store, because a lot of people go, oh, cool, this one's only 50 and it's on Game Pass. They don't step back and go, wait, why is this one only 50? It's as good as the other ones. What the fuck? Yeah, like most people, like that thought just doesn't cross their mind for some reason.
Write their name on a form to protect their rights and stop things they care about from being destroyed, then yeah, I can't do much with that. I am not a Care Bear that can shoot light out of my stomach to make people give a damn. Plus, it's hard to know how many people don't care and how many never knew about the initiative in the first place. It's certainly not for...
Yeah, you guys did have a serious marketing problem. A ton of people just didn't know about it to begin with. Like, outside of the community for the crew and the terminally online, like, hardcore gamers, you need, just like these companies need casual gamers in order to keep their game alive, your movement also needed casual gamers to sign it in order to get the signature and the support that it needed to be successful. So it's like you both need the same thing. So you're having the same problem these companies are. How do you reach them?
For a lack of trying. I have tried to push this everywhere I can, though I'm an amateur at all of this. I have a medium-sized YouTube channel for making comedy videos involving gaming. That's it for my advantages. Now, I've tried to leverage this to push the initiative, get as much help as possible, but I've never been great at marketing and networking.
Fucking hire somebody. Get someone who is good at that on your side. Reach out to a creator who does understand that world, who's sympathetic to your cause. Like, recruit some help, man. Like, that's all I can tell you. Like, if you can't do it yourself, then you need to recruit.
You know, stuff you need on a campaign. Yeah, in fact, I never wanted to do any of this. I've been beating the drum on the problem of game destruction going on 10 years now, but the problem only got worse and worse, and nobody was doing a damn thing about it. So when the opportunity to do something finally presented itself in the form of the biggest game shutdown from a European company, I pounced on it as hard as I could. So I've hated doing almost every aspect of this campaign, and will be very happy for it to end. But
well, you got your wish a lot sooner than you thought you would. God, I'm gonna check his channel after this one, because I was sent this one a few days ago by someone in the Discord, but I need to check his channel again and see if he's done an update now that Piratesoftware has fucking tanked this whole thing.
I would have hated myself even more if nobody stepped up to do anything. So in light of that, I think our exposure has been phenomenal. We've gotten a lot of support or just fair coverage from major YouTubers. Some ordinary gamers, Young Ye, Lewis Rossman has been a bro especially. Gamers Nexus, Linus Tech Tips, Game Linked, Philip DeFranco, Asmongold, Black Panther, Second Wind, including Yahtzee and the other Frost, Spawn Wave, Civia.
The problem is they're all big online people. You need to find a way to reach normal people, because like your casual gamer doesn't watch any of these people. Most of them probably don't watch YouTubers at all. So, like, you gotta find a way to get to those people.
11, Mandalore Games, Bellular News, Digital Foundry, Josh Strife Hayes, Tech Tangents. Honestly, it goes on and on. I'm leaving out a lot of people. My apologies on that. We've gotten game news outlet coverage. PC Gamer, IGN, Rock Paper Shotgun, Kotaku, TechSpot, Eurogamer, PC Games N, Destructoid, Game.
What have you guys posted in my Discord? What is this? What am I looking at? Laughing my ass off. And it's a picture of me bitching about something in my stream, and then a guy with a blue. I don't understand this meme. Make it make sense. Make it make sense right now. What have you done to me? I don't have a beard. Gamer Nexus isn't terminally online. He's terminally in the lab. It's not a meme. It was me throwing that in an AI generator. Well, go back to the AI generator. You got a good start here. See, this is the best thing about AI. Is if you don't like what you want, you can just change the prompt, and then you can keep tweaking it until you get what you want out of it. You can get 50 results in 10 minutes as opposed to waiting a week for each new result from hiring an actual artist. Go back into it. Go to the negative prompt. Put in no beard. You can put in like mustache, goatee maybe, because I try to stay clean shaven, but sometimes I get lazy and I haven't shaved in a few days. So anyway, there it is. Yeah, you could just keep going back and forth with it. You go into the negative prompt to tell it things you don't want. So when it produces something, you're like, ooh, I don't like that. Then you give it the same prompt again, and you add that to the negative prompt, see what it puts out. And you keep going, you keep fine-tuning it down. That's how it works. So when I say that there's a job for you wannabe Twitter artist out there, that's your job. That's going to be your job now, learning how to use those prompts. Because normal people don't know how to use them, and it gets real technical if you're looking for something really specific. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of trial and error that most people aren't going to do, so they'll still pay people to do it. That's your new line of career there. So take the comms open out from behind your name, stop trying to commission art. That's a lot closer. Holy shit. That's a lot closer. Look at that thing, Ozzy. Why does it make me look so old? Jesus. And I love how it turned the
nose needs to be bigger.
I think it's alright. It's okay. I like that. See, it can be done right. You just keep playing around with the prompts until you get what you want. I like that art style too, but I like how it turned the video game map in the background to Earth. It's just map of Earth. It's trying. It's trying. Okay. Well, kind of Earth. I don't know what map that is. It's like it picked up on that period. Yeah, so you just keep going back and forth with it until you find the one you want. Yeah, it's getting a lot better at recognizing subtlety in the pictures and whatnot. They really nailed that Blue Yeti, though. God, I need a new microphone so bad. This is a launch model Blue Yeti before they started making them in actual blue. But I'm liking this. See? And you can get this much faster. So an actual artist could start throwing stuff into an AI generator, learning how to manipulate the prompts so that they get the result they want, or at least close to the result they want. See, this would probably be good enough if someone was trying to make, something for me for my channel, an actual Twitter artist, using AI prompts to their advantage. They could pump out shit like this until they got something close. This is pretty close. And then they could put that image into Photoshop and use their artistic skills that they claim they have to touch it up and to fix it up and to fine tune it. It saves them a ton of work, looks professional, and they can keep going back and forth. The AI generator could even pump out things that they didn't think of to help them get inspiration. So, you have to learn to use it as the tool it's designed to be. It's not here to take your job. It's just here to upgrade it. Okay? All right? People who ran telephone switchboards back in the day.
To make it easier.
Yeah, back in the day when people ran telephone switchboards to connect calls, well, once, dial tone became a thing and people didn't have to call the operator to connect to people. Once people started getting telephone numbers, well, then their jobs got upgraded. It's not like those people, now we don't need a person to run the switchboard anymore. Now we need people to run customer service for all these phone companies that are issuing all these numbers, and we need people to run 911 because 911 then became a thing. But now we need operators for that. So your job didn't get replaced, it just changed. Okay, there's still an avenue for you. You're not getting kicked out unless you want to be, unless you refuse to adapt. So I've said it 100 times, I'll say it again. You can either adapt with the technology or get replaced by it. That's the only way you get replaced. You will get steamrolled by progress if you don't keep up. It is what it is. Okay, we've been through this 100 times. TV was supposed to kill the radio star and the radio show, and then they transitioned from, okay, well, we'll stop doing radio, shows where we're telling a narrative like Batman issue #1. No, now let's do radio comedy shows in the morning. We'll do radio morning shows. We'll do radio news shows. We'll do radio sports casting. Yeah, there's still radio shows. There's still talk radio. TV didn't replace it. Still here to this day. So it's the same shit, different era, man. That's all it is. He forgets the only reason he has a following is because people enjoyed the subject he covered, creepypasta, deep web stuff, not his actual opinion on it. Wait, who we talking about? Oh, man, I've missed some shit in chat. Mudahar / some ordinary gamers is the classic wannabe conservative Indian neckbeard retard who huffs his own farts because he got good at a facet of the internet that he was comfortable with and rolled. Yeah, he's one of those channels that it's very obvious drama wasn't going to be your thing, but you struggled at your actual thing, and drama was quick clips. So you stuck with that and then try to sprinkle in your thing on top of it. I went in doing drama. As soon as I started I know I got 10 years worth of YouTube under my belt, but it's all just random nonsense. Random video game clips and nonsense. I didn't really take this seriously and actually try to produce content until I found something I wanted to do. And I actually like drama. It's what I spend all my time watching while I'm playing video games off stream. I was like, I got to find a way to incorporate this into my stream, because doing video game streams was honestly kind of boring for me. I would get into this rut where I'm just doing the same thing every night with the same people, and it just kind of got boring. So drama was what I enjoyed. Now I get to play whatever game I want. I don't have to chase a trend in order to try to get somebody to pay attention to me. And I get to do what I like and not have to like do this off stream with my wife. And my wife streams with me more. But you get someone like Mudahar, Some Ordinary Gamers, the fucking gamers thing is in his name. And for a long time, he barely did anything about gaming. Another prime example is like Review Tech USA. That motherfucker hasn't reviewed any tech in years. He is a drama channel. How weird is it that people keep referencing a drama channel and it's called Review Tech USA? Just change your fucking name. Mine's just my screen name. You want to know what the focus of my channel is? It's fucking me. It's whatever the fuck I want to do. I'll do drama till I get bored of it, and if I want to do something else, I'll do something else. You're here to watch Death Witch. That's why you're here. And whatever the fuck Death Witch feels like doing tonight. This channel is very obviously about me. So. Yeah, there's a bunch of other examples of it too. Like, I can't count the number of ones that have like so-and-so gaming TV or something behind their name, and then they're just doing drama. Yeah, like drama seems to be the thing that most channels go to when they've just gotten desperate for views, where drama is what I started out doing. I didn't bother to take YouTube seriously when I was doing gaming. I was just trying to game with my friends, and I used YouTube as basically free video storage. So I used YouTube as just like a way to store videos and clips for free. So when something cool happened in a game, I had an easy way to share it. And then I also went like, okay, as long as I'm doing this, I'll learn how streaming works. So it was my learning phase. I learned how to make graphics. I learned how to do OBS and make the scene transitions and all this extra stuff I'm doing now. I learned how to get the green screen working, the camera working, all this different stuff. So then when I decided I was going to take YouTube seriously and start trying to make the content I wanted to make, I could look somewhat professional when I started instead of, looking really crappy in the beginning and getting better over time. We'll probably still get better over time. You're still in very much the early days of my drama phase, if you will, the early days of my channel. We'll probably look back on this in a year and I'll probably have changed my format a little bit, and you'll go, oh, that's when he used to do it this way. Now he does it this way. I'm always going to change and evolve. But I got all the basics out of the way while I was just gaming and didn't care. Now that I feel like I've learned everything I need to learn in order to put on a decent show, now I'll actually try. That's how that worked. Anyway, back to this. Oh shit, I gotta click back over here. See, I'm still learning.
Game Rant? There's more. And regular news outlets. Metro, Euronews, Variety, Forbes. Also many non-English outlets for France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Hungary. There's a lot. And some developers. Running with Scissors, Landfall Games, Mala Industria Games, Octay, those awesome guys. And developers of emulators like Dolphin, PCSX2, and PPSSPP. And some more indie developers I may have lost track of. I'm sorry. And this last one is hearsay, but it's my favorite if
I see Cookie Clicker up there. We may watch it. Let me start by asking before my make sure I'm not gonna fucking like piss anybody off in chat. We may watch a Mr. Girl video. Does anybody in my chat know who Mr. Girl is? You guys know who Mr. Girl is? Oh, sweet, I learned a recipe. He's been banned from YouTube for many reasons.
Never heard of him.
Well, he's been banned from YouTube. He's relegated to the mean streets of Rumble now. I don't watch much of his content. He is kind of a freak. He got banned for a reason. Let us not forget that. But he did put out a review of Cookie Clicker that I thought was hilarious. The guy has potential to, like, if he had stuck his content to that, then he would have been fine. But the guy can't help but just be an absolute fucking weirdo freak that eventually got him banned from everything except Rumble. So if I play anything of his, it's going to have to be super safe, because just putting his face on my screen is probably a risk in and of itself. But we might watch his review of Cookie Clicker, because I did see clips of that, and I went and looked it up and watched it, and I was like, this is actually pretty clever and funny. And you're not being a freak in it, so good for you. Good for you. See, you can still make content that I think people would want to watch. But We'll see. I'll think about it while we finish watching this.
True. Developers from Ubisoft Ivory Tower. The people who made The Crew, which is the game we use.
I'm going to speed this guy up to 2.0. I just realized this is an hour-long video. He's not talking super fast. Let's go 1.75. See if that makes him too fast to understand. See if we can get through it a little faster.
Just to get all this action rolling in the first place. Yeah, it turns out a lot of developers who spend years of their lives working on something don't like seeing it destroyed by publishers. Who'd have thought? And I've been saying yes to almost all offers for interviews, questioning, or any kind of outreach opportunities that came our way. I honestly don't know how many interviews I've done on this issue at this point. It's easily dozens, though not all of them were on video.
I've seen none of them. I mean, we're going to watch a Philip DeFranco thing on this after it. I'm just going to watch the segment on this, but I didn't realize like this guy had been doing as much as he's been doing, which worries me. Like, how come I hadn't heard all of this? Like, I heard about the movement, but it's always been from other creators. I literally did not know this guy existed until I was sent this video.
Yeah. One was even for BBC Radio. And then
So that would probably speak to like the kind of outreach he was doing. You don't reach new people if you keep making stuff within your bubble. You have to reach outside your bubble, and that's a problem. Like, all the stuff he's doing here look like all people that are within that bubble. It seemed like he had trouble breaking out of it. Another one, I look like Zac Efron in this one. Did you guys make me look like Zac Efron? Kind of. Why do I look so fucking depressed? Damn, AI, make me look less depressed. Tell it to make me look less depressed. See, you just keep going back to the prompt. You keep adding those little touches until you get something you want. Cut my life into pieces. This is my last AI. Okay.
And there would be the spontaneous offers that would pop up throughout the entire campaign, like working with members of European Parliament to push through questions to the EU Commission, having meetings with the BEUC as another route to the EU Commission, meetings with representatives from GOG. That one was looking promising until they fired the representatives we were talking with, then backpedaled. That sucked. Meetings with representatives from
Makes you wonder why that happened, huh? That people in the mainstream that actually would have got you the attention you wanted as soon as you got to talk to them, people got wind of it and they got fired? That should have been a red flag for you. So this is why I call Piratesoftware an industry plant. I'm telling you, they have an agenda. I'm not being conspiratorial. I'm not being crazy. These things are real, guys. I'm telling you. As I reach for my tinfoil hat.
Heineken. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. Heineken, of all companies, supports the initiative because it ties in well with some gamer lounge campaign they have going. That one was going to be a huge boost for us, but they ended up having to postpone it a year, which is too late. I've had meetings with Fudo, F-Camp. Probably the funniest of these was another member of European Parliament who was also on the Committee on Culture and Education. Their staff reached out to me, set appointments, canceled, then kept having to reschedule 3 times. And this is all on top of the day-to-day outreach, organizing, and just basic communication with God knows how many people. Again, I've hated doing this because I have to fight all my instincts not to bother people. I hate being a pest, but you kind of have to do some of that when campaigning. At this point, I've written a couple thousand emails connected to the campaign, trying to do outreach, research, and just keeping things together. I haven't done that much on Twitter because I don't have much of a presence there. Same goes for Reddit. Yeah, Reddit. I received so many reports of promotions of the initiative being deleted, and some of the ones that stayed up are some of the most hostile to the initiative that I've seen. Yeah, isn't Reddit just a wonderful place to be nowadays?
I'm not sure Reddit is the best place to reach out, but I mean, if you can get your stuff in front of the right people on Reddit, maybe. I'm not saying it's not a terrible place, but it's hard, okay? It's hard.
Get a Discord launched where people can independently organize so I wouldn't be bottlenecking anything if others have better ideas on what to do. I believe currently they're trying to contact TV stations about this in Europe, something I never would have had a clue how to do. That's exactly the sort of thing I was hoping would emerge. Yeah, I really want to emphasize that from the second the initiative launched, nothing had to go through me. It's been there, in public, this entire time, with easy multilingual guides at StopKillingGames.com. We blazed a trail to make it easy for others to act on this, but that wasn't enough. So it feels like I've been running a rickshaw carrying people to the destination to save games, except it's breaking down halfway. The work on this has never stopped. I never wanted my involvement on the campaign to last this long. I kept hoping after launch, somebody with more reach and better at campaigning could just point people to the destination and get it done. But no, I've had to keep hauling that rickshaw. Not every week, but there have been many weeks on the campaign where I've been working 12 to 14 hours a day to keep things moving to get signatures. And the only way I was even able to do that was to burn some of my savings and put everything else on hold. I've been kind of stupid about this because it's our only shot. Again, this is an amateur effort. That means there's no staff and no salary. So if I need help with something and ask a volunteer to help with it and they disappear on me, well then they disappear on me and I need to do it myself. Or if I can't, then I need to hunt down someone else to help with it and hope they don't disappear on me. Meanwhile, my channel has been suffering, as my viewers can tell you. I'm stretched too thin. Now, I have been maybe fairly criticized for not running a fundraiser for this. There are reasons for that. The first is, until recently, I didn't know where we would spend it. People would say, buy ads. But the initiative could be considered political. And YouTube doesn't allow political ads in a lot of EU countries. And neither does Twitch. Good luck reaching gamers without YouTube or Twitch. So taking money with no plan, that's a grift. And another reason is I am one of the worst people to manage that sort of thing. Financial paperwork is an Achilles heel of mine and seems to take me 10 times more effort than anything else. I mean, I can do accounting, budgeting, math, that's not a problem. No, I mean having knowledge of all the obscure forms you need to fill out, what all the tax laws that apply are, what all the specialized terminology is, and just all the hidden rules. Now you might say, just hire an international tax accountant for multiple countries. Okay, there goes a third of our funding then. So what are we even doing? I cannot emphasize how much I struggle with financial business crap like that. So the thought of me putting together a fundraiser for what might be considered a political fund that needs to adhere to laws in multiple countries, and if I make a mistake, that could be considered a crime? Oh, no. That's like asking somebody with severe dyslexia to write a book report on war and peace. I am the wrong person for that job. But I've still been trying, to the best of my ability anyway. I didn't discover this until late in the process, that even though general ads were out, sponsored messages were still an option for some countries. And some mysterious benefactors emerged, offering to pay them directly. But that means I needed to find all these channels and broker all these deals. So as a last-ditch effort, I've been looking through hundreds of targeted non-English gaming channels trying to find good candidates for this. Then work with bilingual liaisons for each language, then try to put together a contract and figure out what a good offer is for the amount of views we expect. I am so out of my depth on this, but I'm still trying. At this point, I've browsed through more clickbait AI-generated thumbnails than I have the entire rest of my life. I honestly can't decide which part of the campaign I've hated the most. Acting as an advertising broker, not knowing our budget or what's a good offer, or trying to research laws governing this practice that don't exist, except I didn't know that at the time. So how are these sponsored ads going? Are they going to get us the signatures? As of recording this, I don't know. It's a Hail Mary pass as it is. I'm just going to assume it won't, and I'm completely spent on ideas on how to get more signatures. I did everything I possibly could to make this campaign work. It wasn't enough. Or rather, I did everything that made sense to me. I did receive a lot of suggestions of things I do not think would have worked. A bunch of people told me to make short-form videos on this. I tried that. They got a fraction of my usual views. I've been told make more videos on my channel saying the same thing. But lots of views on my channel doesn't help if it's all the same audience, because people get only signed once. We have to reach new audiences. I've been told become a full-time streamer. I might consider it if I thought it would work, but I don't. I've been told I should have made a bigger deal about countries crossing minimum thresholds.
You need to get big full-time streamers on board, and unfortunately the one you got was Piratesoftware.
Well, I didn't want to celebrate that because that's an arbitrary number. They're the minimums. All that really matters is that 1 million number, and we're a long ways away. Now, another suggestion has been to make a plea to big gamers, like PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, Moist Critical, Markiplier, anyone like that. Well, yeah, I think that might be a great idea. Our biggest obstacle in the campaign has always been getting enough exposure, and they have exposure. I think any one of them could end this with one video and change gaming history. Problem is, I have no idea how to reach any of them. Plus, I can understand if they might shy away from this. First, they're probably busy people. But second, they may not want the kind of heat that comes with changing gaming history, even if it's for the better. And third, if they back this, then a million people might mob them to back something else, and then there's no end to it. So I actually can understand some people wanting to sit this out. I mean, yeah, it really sucks that we can't get enough attention on this badly needed change in the games industry, but I'm not shocked either. Honestly, I'm already punching way above my weight class on this. My main promotion video for it got a little under 250,000 views, and about 15% of my audience is from EU countries who are eligible to sign. So that means I shouldn't have expected much more than 30 to 40,000 signatures from my audience, and we're over 10 times that. It's almost like a lot of people out there don't like having their games destroyed. Anyway, most of the criticism I've seen for how I've run this campaign kind of comes down to be more popular. Yeah, sure, maybe everybody else knows how to do that. I don't. I kind of view that critique as similar to don't be poor financial advice. And that's from people who support the
Yeah, don't be poor, brokey.
campaign. For all the support and fair coverage we've received, there's been some opposition too. Though I want to say 80, maybe even 90% of people who are against the initiative are against it because they think it's doing something it's not. For example, the #1 criticism about the initiative that we've never been...
I want to see if he hits on any of them that Piratesoftware said, because he's against it too. And I can't figure out why, because he's supposed to be a gamer. But he's an industry plant, because he quote unquote used to work for Blizzard. I think he's still secretly on their payroll.
been able to shake is that it's unworkable because you can't expect publishers to support games forever. Yeah, we know. That's why we've never asked for that. I must have said this 100 times now. It was written on the website from day one, but this keeps coming up over and over again. See, that's the thing. As soon as you say 3 words on requiring end-of-life plans, gamers especially will jump to some conclusion, and I never know where...
You have to be super clear with your intentions. You can't put it in paperwork and say it's not on the website or something. As we've learned from me reading the fucking court documents for all of these lawsuits with H3, it's people just straight up will not read the documents. And what blows my mind, and we'll get to that later in the stream, is you'll see reactions from Frogan, from Caseytron, from the people involved in the lawsuit who clearly don't even know why they're getting sued yet. They haven't even read the paperwork. They've been served. It blows my mind. People just refuse to read shit.
Or they're going to land. Ironically, non-gamers tend to be much better at understanding the initiative because they're not coming with a whole...
If nothing else, just do a reading of the paperwork involved on your website. Read it to people like an audiobook. I feel like that alone will help for people that are too lazy to read. It's what I did with the paperwork for what? Why can't I? Okay.
Bag full of assumptions. A couple other criticisms are how this would violate copyright law by forcing publishers to give up their intellectual property. No, it wouldn't. Some of you may want to pause this part. Or how this won't work because of end-user license agreements. That's also not a problem. Or how this isn't possible because publishers already have agreements with other companies and don't have the rights to distribute that code. We're aware of that. Yes, the initiative is still possible. Those are the ones I've seen most organically. Beyond that, there's a clear patient zero where others come from. Okay, I really don't want to do this next part, but it's become a liability for the campaign for me not to. Our biggest critic by far is YouTuber and streamer Piratesoftware, who goes by Thor.
There he is. Let's see what was going on 3 days ago as opposed to what. See if any of this might have led to what happened now. And again, we'll go over that after this. I'm doing a timeline thing.
If your only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been misinformed. This video is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying to stop it, and has been making up what it is about. I am not saying that lightly. I will prove it in a minute. Now you might be thinking, okay, so some YouTube...
So that sounds like Piratesoftware making up what it's about. Yeah, he's an industry plant, dude.
We got something wrong on the internet. So what? See, that was my thinking too. The problem is how incredibly influential this YouTuber has been. Remember that list of coverage on the campaign? Well, best I can tell, Thor's coverage has been bigger than literally anyone else on those lists, except Asmongold. And the only video Asmongold had on this bigger than Thor's was about Thor's video. So for all practical purposes, Thor here has been the #1 voice on the campaign, and he's been lying about what it is. That's a bit loaded though. In this case, I'm using the second definition of lie. I have no evidence it's the first. This video came out right as we were building momentum, then except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork. This put me in kind of a no-win scenario too, because if I ignored it, then a lot of people are going to get misinformed about the campaign.
Yeah, he kneecapped your campaign intentionally, and he's going to play it off like he didn't mean to, or like, no, you guys don't understand games, because he's smarter than everybody, guys. He's the smartest dude in the room. Remember that.
If I did a response video, which is not something I wanted to do anyway, then it might look like drama farming, which could understandably turn off a lot of people from the campaign, because it's not about that at all. So I quickly made this video trying to clear up all misconceptions and concerns about the initiative with timestamps for everyone's questions, hoping the truth would eventually come out. I can see now that was a mistake. I should have just embraced the drama. To this day, I'm still getting frequent comments and emails about the same falsehoods about
Yeah, drama gets clicks, dude. Embrace the drama. You're right.
the campaign that originated in this video. Well, now I have nothing to lose. If we don't get the signatures, then none of this matters anyway. So if this campaign is failing because of me not talking about this, then I'll at least correct history here on the way down. I'll get this over with and go over what I think are the biggest points of Piratesoftware's videos. I'm not going to go over everything because collectively Thor's made hours of video on both me and the movement. I'd be here forever. Believe me, I could address smaller things too, and kind of already have. Alright, let's start. Okay, point number 1. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically, we don't want single-player games
No.
to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they want it to be about specifically games, whereas a single-player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live server.
So, shocker. Piratesoftware is confidently wrong as usual. He has a bad habit of being so... This is as confidently wrong as he was during the WoW raids when he got all of the backlash. How he misread the situation and was so confidently wrong.
Service game that exists, instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
No.
Dude, the ego on this guy is insane. But this guy's going to explain to you how he was wrong.
That's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. This is what I mean. It's harder for gamers to understand this because they come with so many assumptions. It's like that saying about doctors being the worst patients. So let's clear this up. It's the first line on the website. Stop Killing Games is a consumer...
It's literally the first fucking line. So if you need proof that Piratesoftware didn't read it and he was talking out of his ass, there you go. Any of this starting to sound familiar? Same bullshit, different drama.
movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. But the movement includes all this stuff from earlier, and he was mostly talking about the initiative. Well, the short version is the initiative is about requiring publishers to have end-of-life plans for games they've sold to customers in the future. So when they shut them down, customers can continue running them without their support. The long version depends on...
So from my understanding, and I'm not a dev, I never worked for a company, and even I understood this, is they want a way for the game to stay alive. Doesn't have to be a single-player game. Any game you purchase to have an end-of-life plan, meaning that the game can outright state that it's going to shut its servers down on X date. They want a plan for that date. Okay, if you're shutting your servers down for your game, whether it be an online, multiplayer game, or whether it be a single-player game with, online DRM, if you're shutting your servers down on this day, what happens next? This initiative was to make them have plans for the what happens next. If it's a single player game with DRM, then make the DRM expire on that day. So after that day, you can play it without it needing to connect to the internet to do its DRM check. Boom, that saves your single player game. If it's a multiplayer game, then have a way for the customers, for the gamers, to be able to host their own servers. Lots of games already have ways you can host your own servers.
But also, somewhat best example, most recent that I could think of, Mega Man X Dive.
Yeah, or do what Mega Man X Dive did and make an online version where it no longer has to connect to the internet and all those things. Yeah, and all those things in the game that required a purchase or required you to get online, you just rework the game to make them earnable in the game. They did the same thing for Star Wars Battlefront 2. When they removed all the microtransactions, they reworked the game. It only takes a couple different lines of code to say instead of it being unlocked through a purchase in the shop, it's unlocked when character reaches X level. And then boom, now it's earnable in the game. All the content's already there. It's already in the game. You just need to make it accessible without a purchase and make it playable offline. So, but even if you didn't want to make any changes to the game whatsoever, even if you didn't want to do I'm going to make an offline version, now our devs got to go back to work and rework the game. Even if they wanted to do the absolute laziest way possible to get this done, the way you do that is just release the server software to the public. Let's make it a download on your website. Now anybody who wants to host a server can. Okay, Minecraft, you can... Yeah, you open source the servers. So you can make your own servers. You can make your own server in Minecraft. You can make your own server in Ark, Rust, 7 Days to Die, a whole host of games. This is why these games, even if they, the official servers were to shut down for Ark or 7 Days to Die tomorrow, you can still play them. You can still play the fucking community servers. Some of them cost money, some of them don't, but that'll be on the community. Just make community servers a thing. Simple. You go back to the fucking early 2000s when games had a game browser and you could go to a website to host a game and search for, hosted games from websites on a game browser. GameSpy. The old school days of GameSpy. You could even make that a service. They could even profit off of it. You could even make that a service. You could bring back GameSpy, which says, okay, after this date, official servers are going to shut down for the game. But this third-party service, known as GameSpy or whatever they want to call it now, they'll host servers for all these games for you, and for one low monthly fee, you can access whatever servers you want or whatever they're going to do. GameSpy was a thing back in the day. It was just a server browser to let you find community servers for games. You could do the same here. Like, there really is no excuse for what they're doing, and there's even less of an excuse for Piratesoftware, someone who's supposedly supposed to be an expert in the industry, who spent all this time working for a AAA developer. For him not to know this, for him to make this fucking rookie of a misinterpretation is ridiculous. It to the point that it has to be intentional, which is why I say he's an industry plant. He is reading their PR statement. He is their under-the-table PR guy.
So what kind of transaction is being made? As you can see, it's not easy to explain in a soundbite. But if you notice, we don't make a distinction between single-player and multiplayer games.
No, it's pretty easy to explain. I just did it. My God, dude. How are you having this much trouble explaining it? It's not that hard.
That's because the law doesn't either. So why make this even harder? Both the movement and the law are making distinctions on how games are sold. Also, that part he said about it affecting all live service games? Yes and no. It would affect most live service games in the future, but the initiative is not retroactive. So that's one thing Thor doesn't understand, but he also seems to think this is about converting...
That's how all laws work, though. You can't change a law. Like, that's common sense shit. You can't change a law and then retroactively punish everyone for breaking that law before the law existed. So you can't say, well, that's against the law now, but you did it 6 months ago, so we're going to hold you accountable. Well, at the time he did it, it wasn't against the law. Yeah, like, that's not how the law works. Like, that part shouldn't even fucking need explaining. Jesus Christ.
Converting multiplayer games to single player. Once again, he made that up, and I have no idea why he thought that.
Transitioning an entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make...
Nobody asked him to do that. No part of this was asking for that, pirate dipshit. This is why I think he's an industry plant. He's speaking like a developer for one of these games that's being told by the higher-ups what he needs to say so that they can justify not doing this. He's pushing their narrative.
Make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game. That's what they're
You
asking.
wouldn't have
No.
to.
Because they would have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single-player offline? No, dude.
Correct. No. This one is
Yeah, no one asked that.
particularly baffling to me because I've heard most counter arguments before, but until 4, I've never heard this one. That we want the industry to convert all multiplayer games into single-player ones. I keep saying it. You never know where gamers are going to take this.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games.
Oh,
I'm wondering how long they'll put it together before they realize that this dude is an industry plant.
so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it won't happen.
He never has that light bulb moment. Well, he is correct in that statement. It's almost as if that's not what the initiative is asking for. But those were his streams with a smaller audience. What does he say in his big YouTube video with over 1 million views that he had time to research?
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single-player experience, and then taking away support in the future,
Now he's changed.
Still getting it wrong. Yeah, it's the same shit, but he worded it differently. Maybe he's literally a plant that had an AI filter applied to him to make him look like a WoW-loving neckbeard. No, he existed before the AI filters existed. I think that they found that once he became popular as a streamer while working at Blizzard, they realized that he's more valuable to the company as a PR person, seeing as how he's building an audience now and he's popular online. And these companies are constantly trying to reach out to these streamers and work with them. Now you have one that has a big audience you don't have to reach out to. You literally have a man on the inside. That's what I think happened. Is they said, you're more valuable to the company as a streamer than you are as a dev. So why don't we just pay you under the table? There's probably a contract there somewhere that he can't mention his association with them. There's some shady shit going on. He's an industry plant, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. Too much stuff. He seems too smart to say stuff this stupid. And it's always pro-corporate. It's always pro-corporate.
It again and is making up how it's about single-player games are advertised. What is he doing?
it needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game, but adding online-only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
And there are some people that will say, well, just make it all single player.
Like
well,
you?
Explain that that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're making it all single player, you have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. These are two different ideologies, and that's okay.
He's shadowboxing with arguments that people didn't make.
To have two different ideologies. I just won't agree with it.
But those aren't the ideologies. Nothing in the initiative is asking to convert games to single player.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single player games.
Yeah, so why does he keep bringing it up? This is a total red herring.
If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
No, he's getting a...
Yeah, you're so close to noticing that this is intentional. That, yes, it is a red herring. He's there to plant the red herring. He's there to create confusion and stop the movement. You're so close to figuring this out, just like he was so close to being right. Come on, man.
new thing wrong now. We're not against them existing. We're against them being destroyed with no recourse for the customer. Just use logic. If we didn't like them in the first place, why would we care if they're being destroyed? He says he gets it, but he doesn't.
Let's talk about the actual bad business practices. In the case that a studio is making a live service game, and they sell it to you as a product, they say that you are purchasing the game, or you are buying the game, when in reality you're actually purchasing or buying a license to that game. I think that we should be fighting about that. The initiative is not trying to call that out specifically. It's trying to say that all games need to stay in a functional, playable state.
Yes!
Which is not calling out the language that is being used to manipulate the player. Call that out specifically.
Okay, I don't know if he's doing this intentionally. I'll be charitable and
It's intentional. Yes, you're so close, man. You're so close. You're so close.
assume he's not. But this is some serious obfuscation.
No, he doesn't earn that benefit of the doubt. He hasn't earned that. Don't give him that.
He's complaining that the initiative isn't focused on another topic he made up. I mean, what is that logic? Hey, the initiative doesn't address how Capcom changed the look of Dante in the Devil May Cry reboot either. That may as well be what he's saying there. I am not aware of a game on the planet with a license agreement that says you are not buying a license. Our problem is not with licenses failing to inform people. Blizzard says they can take away your purchase for no reason. That sounds pretty clear to me. Our problem is those terms are so hostile to consumers and the medium that they should be taken off the table entirely. This needs...
Yeah, there's no problem with there being a license for a game. The problem is the terms of the license right now are unreasonable. They don't mind them selling licenses. They just want the licenses to be reasonable. That says you have to play it. The license should be, you are buying a license for this game. The license is to access official servers. So if you want to play this game for this amount of time, so at this date, they have to say a shutdown date for when they're going to shut those official servers down, to when they sell you the license, and the license period is until that date. And during that time period, you can only play this game on official servers. After that date, the license has expired, those servers are shut down, and now you can play them on any server you so choose. But they have to make it available on other servers. They have to give other people a way to make the game available to play amongst themselves. So basically, the license says you have to play it where we tell you to play it until this date, and after this date, then you can go play it wherever you want. Therefore, you still own the game, but for this period of time when you own the game, we control where you play it. That's the compromise. That's the meet in the middle. That's what they were going for. I don't understand what's so hard to get here. It makes sense to me. Like it seems insanely simple. And I'm not even talking specifically about Piratesoftware here, because I know why he doesn't quote unquote get it. He's being paid not to. I'm talking about all of the other like people in chat and all his, well, the fucking Piratesoftware stands who will blindly parrot whatever idea that he throws out there, which is exactly why I say he's an industry plant, because he's getting paid for that kind of influence. That now he's got an entire army of gamers who will repeat his corporate message that the corporation that the AAA industry has paid him to push. You are not getting me off this he's an industry plant thing. It's the only explanation that makes sense. He's too smart for me to call him retarded. As much as it's fun to call him retarded because he has a bunch of retarded takes, this is intentional. This isn't retarded. It's intentional.
Regulation. Forget video games. If you look at basic commerce for hundreds of years, when you paid money, you either got to keep what you paid for, or if it was a service, you were told when your access ends. The vast majority of online-only games do neither of those. The games industry is trying to upend basic commerce. I think you have to go back to feudalism before neither of those things are true. Why even have consumer laws if you have no rights?
If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Oh no! He
Again, no one was telling you that.
wheeled out that line about publishers having to support the game forever. He was literally watching the video earlier where it says it won't do that in big letters. That wasn't enough. We just can't stop gamers from going there, even when we spell it out. I admit, guys, this part hurts. To see the biggest voice on this issue get it wrong again and again and again, then put that same
Intentionally so. Come on, man. You're so close to putting this together. You can do it. You can do it. You seem like a man of logic. You're yelling at him for not connecting the dots. Connect the dots here. He's working against you. He is intentionally working for them.
same wrong information on blast to a far bigger audience that we can reach. It hurts. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what we're
God, and you don't get it. You're so close. Call him out as being a plant.
asking for. Now, to be fair, it sounded like he was getting a little closer in this video. Yeah, despite being called 2, it's at least the 4th video he did on this.
You want that to stay in a functional playable state? That means the devs have to release either server binaries or somehow carve off the game to be a single-player experience now.
That's better, but he's still talking about converting the single player right to the end. He never completely got it. So Piratesoftware did not
Neither did you.
understand the initiative. Maybe still doesn't. That means the majority of his critique is about things it would not do, like kill all MMOs.
If that passes, enjoy never playing an MMO again for the rest of your life. And taking away from every other person that plays MMOs.
It really wouldn't. And I've explained why in that video, but the short version
Tell me that doesn't sound like a Blizzard narrative. Scare all of the WoW heads, the biggest MMO on the planet, and then fearmonger that crowd. Tell me that's not what just fucking happened, dude. You are insane. He is a plant. He is a fucking plant.
is companies would have to stop liking money for that to happen. Lots of money. But his number one criticism is that he thinks the initiative is vague.
Incredibly vague. Too vague. Very vague and vague. It's vague. It's vague. That is vague. Too vague. Vaguely vague. Incredibly vague. Vaguely worded. Vague. 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 This is vague.
This goes on. Well, from Thor's perspective, his logic is pretty sound for this part. But the thing about logic is it's only as good as your assumed truths. And he's
What the fuck is that thing it sent me to fight? Holy damn.
said multiple times now that he thinks the initiative is only about single-player games. So since he's expecting the thing he made up, but that's not what the initiative is asking
Let's
for,
go.
he thinks it's vague. Because for him, it is.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games. It is vague.
Yeah, in fact, if we look at that long definition again, let's add a subsection just for Thor. Single-player games with an online DRM check. Those would already fall under this broader category. So Thor is expecting this. Again, I don't know why, but instead he's seeing an initiative that covers all of this. That's why he calls it vague 50 times. The thought that we want what we're asking for and not the thing he made up seems to have never entered his head. The initiative is trying to stop the destruction of games. That's the whole point. It covers the types of games most in need of saving. If we only covered this tiny subsection, that would save maybe 1% or less of games that get destroyed. This would do almost nothing. I'm not saying there isn't one, but I literally can't think of a game that meets this criteria. Every game I know of with single-player content that's been destroyed has been designed to run server-side, not locally. Older ones like that tend to have the DRM cracked, which is not an ideal solution, but that does stop game destruction. And newer ones with the Nuvo or something
Yeah, right now, which is ironic for a guy named Piratesoftware, that the main thing preserving games is piracy. Yeah, there's no way he doesn't get it. I'm sorry, there's just not.
Then have it removed by end of life. So I say less than 1%, but this might save 0% of games. I'm not sure. The initiative is actually not that big.
Do you have a like phone going off in the background?
I think my wife might. Been kind of ignoring it, waiting for it to stop. Is it that loud?
Yeah, it's coming through the stream.
Alright, hold on. Let me go. Can I pause in the middle of the fight? Okay, I can. Alright, hold on, give me a second. I'll be right back, guys. Let me get turn off our phone. It seems like she set an alarm, but she is sleeping through it. She asked me to wake her up when this ended anyway, so that's what I'll do. Alright, there we go. I should have equipped some magic before fighting this boss. I didn't realize it was a boss fight. I thought it was just another regular hunt.
Oh, yep, that's better.
Yeah. Alright, cool. Thanks. Oh, shit. I gotta click back over here to get the thing back started.
Fair, some people did get hung up on this part. A reasonably playable or functional state. True, that is not 100% specific. There are reasons for that. You know how in law, police can stop a suspect?
You're leaving room. It should be, again, obvious, the reason that that's vague. Even though it's not vague, the intention is clear to leave it in a functioning state, but you're not specifying what that means. The reason that you leave that purposefully vague, but the end result is what's supposed to be left clear, is because you're leaving room to negotiate. You're leaving room to negotiate so that they can go, okay, well, what if we did this and what if we did this? Because you don't want to tell them what to do, because chances are they're just going to say no to you. You're leaving them room at the table to go, well, what if we did it this way? Or what if we did it this way? Yeah, like you're giving them a chance to say what they're willing to do and whether or not you find it acceptable. And then you guys go back and forth and meet in the middle. I mean, because ultimately that's what this is. It's a negotiation.
With reasonable suspicion, or a jury finds someone guilty beyond all reasonable doubt? That's because the number of situations you face are so varied that the law has to inject some common sense somewhere. It's the same with games. A multi-million-dollar MMO is a different animal from a budget arena shooter. It won't work making highly specific laws. That's one half of it. The other half of it is this sense is...
Yeah, and each game functions differently, so you can't tell every game how it has to function, or you would end up in the world that he's listing where, you know, they have to turn all MMOs into single-player games. Yeah, like there is no one-size-fits-all when so many games function so differently.
Olive branch to publishers. I've heard complaints this isn't specific enough. Okay, but you know what the alternative to this would be? Here, I'll show you. The game must be fully functional and contain 100% of all features as advertised. So as a publisher, which requirement would you rather meet? More importantly, this sentence shows the EU Commission that we're acting in good faith and trying to find a balance. I think some of the people asking for this to be more specific may not realize what they're asking for. I know some won't believe this, but a hell of a lot of thought went into the wording of the initiative. I think it's almost perfect. See, the initiative isn't even a proposed bill, it's a negotiation. Our side says we want games to be functional when publishers and support, so they need end-of-life plans. The industry's position is going to be against whatever we write, and claim they need no regulation whatsoever. Then the EU Commission gets to decide who is more in the right here. The Citizens Initiative is the opening offer in these negotiations. Trust me, the industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars will make its position known to the EU. We don't have to make their case for them. So for this negotiation, simple is good. That's why we're straight and to the point for what we want. Then the industry will argue against that, then the EU Commission might look for compromises. You don't start a negotiation with a bunch of compromises because then it'll get so watered down you won't save anything. Oh, and that long definition list are actually logical extensions of the simpler language used in the initiative. It's actually kind of slick. Plus, there's a character limit on these things. The EU Commission doesn't want you trying to cover 50 edge cases at this phase. Alright, so Piratesoftware did not understand the initiative. But point two, he also did not make it easy for the truth to get out. I had never heard of him prior to all this, but during the campaign, I had dozens of people contacting me, telling me how wise and reasonable he is, how he's really pro-consumer and represents developers. I should really talk to him. Great, let's do it. So this was my first encounter of him.
Oh shit,
I can't equip it.
It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to. That is awful. That is a horrible goddamn direction. That's awful, dude. No, eat my entire ass. The level of stupid that I just had to receive.
So he just admits he's going to purposefully tank it. Again, industry plant behavior.
Was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is ass. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit then. I drop the mask entirely. I have no qualms about that.
There you go. There you go. He just said he's dropping the mask. He's dropping the mask. What the fuck is hitting me now? What is... Really? Alright, I guess I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna have to wait till... What? Where did they come from? What? Why? Why is there a mech there all of a sudden? Level 76? Where did it come from? Why? What the fuck ever, man. I'm just gonna let myself die until I can fucking do this over. Oh my god. I'm gonna have to fight it during the daytime because at night bullshit spawns. Holy shit. Anyway, back to this.
Eat my entire ass. The whole thing. That sounds stupid as shit.
Oh, yeah. I can see why people like him. It's like listening to Mr. Rogers. As you can imagine, we've been less than thrilled.
Yeah, he just had his big "my dad works at EA" energy. Yeah, because his dad works at Blizzard. Yeah, he's an industry plant, and he just admitted, I'm going mask off. I'm going to take the mask off for a minute. This shit sucks. It's ass. It's blah, blah. Yeah, this is what they say in the boardrooms when they want to shut it down. Because, what? If they play WoW forever after we shut the servers down, then they'll have no reason to buy WoW too. Yeah. Jesus fucking Christ.
That Thor here has become the dominant voice of the campaign, especially when he doesn't understand it. Though I did find the used car salesman part amusing, since if people could read my mind, they would understand how much I dread anything resembling sales or marketing, or just trying to push things on people who aren't interested in them. I'm not exaggerating when I said I've hated having to run this campaign.
This is the most uneducated take I have ever seen in games.
Now, as for that one, I do have a bachelor's in criminal justice, which might explain why I'm coming at this from very different angles than he is. You know, focusing on people having rights and checking what consumer law actually says, rather than what's most convenient for publishers. Though I think I know where that comment is coming from because I've gotten it before. Here's what I think is happening. Online-only games have a client and a server, but a lot also have middleware that developers don't have permission to distribute to customers, or depend on microservices they have no control over, and the server software isn't even designed to run on a customer system. You can't just cut out the middleware and remove the microservices because they're integrated too deeply. That would still leave the game bricked and could take months to fix and be a lot of work. So I think some devs think we're saying all they need to do is just release the server binaries at end of life, and yay, everything is solved. And that's why they think we're ignorant. Well, for some games that could work, but not ones like these. Plus, that's not what we're saying. First off, we're not even mandating the methodology because, again, doing that could run afoul of copyright law.
Yeah, he didn't mention methodology at all. He left it open. Basically said, we want this end outcome. You guys figure out how you get it there. We just want to make sure it gets there by the time you shut it down. That mainly what he's advocating for, what I understood it to mean, is that, remember, this doesn't apply retroactively. So games before this passes wouldn't apply. New games being made would. You would basically integrate release of that server software as part of the game's development. So they would have to, we're basically saying we want it working for all consumers after you shut the servers down at this date. However you make that happen is up to you. So they could integrate it as part of their development to say, okay, we know we have to keep the game on our servers until this date, and afterward we have to have a plan for getting it off. And if they do that from the very beginning, instead of trying to do it at the end, then they'll be ready for it. They'll have plenty of time to develop for it. It won't be any real extra work. It could be something as simple as a switch that triggers when it shuts down to unlock something in the game. Like there's a ton of ways that they can do it, which is why I left it vague, to let them figure out how they do it. We just want to make sure that this happens on this date. That's it.
Second, this whole diagram is looking at a game that exists right now and was never designed to have an end-of-life plan. Those might not be salvageable. So what we're saying is let's take a game in the future. No code has been written yet. It's still just a design document. Okay, so we have the client portion as usual. Then we have the server logic. Now we'll bring in our usual middleware and microservice vendors. Nope, stop. Now the EU says we can't just brick customer purchases like we've been doing if we want to sell our games there. So that means
Yeah, so now you have to change the process a little bit. But if you're doing it from the beginning, then it's no extra work. You make it part of the process. That's all they're trying to do, is change the process in which you handle games going forward.
Can't keep making all these same deals the way we have been. Now we need to renegotiate with the vendors to allow for an end-of-life build with their software, or redesign things to make the microservices easier to sever at end of life. And vendors probably will renegotiate. Otherwise, they'll start losing sales to everyone who wants to sell games in the EU. But say a vendor refuses anyway. Then we need to go with vendor B, who will offer EU-compliant solutions because they will be happy to take money away from their competitor, vendor A. Or maybe we need to abandon one of the microservices altogether and come up with an in-house alternative that is compatible with an end-of-life plan. And if the server can't run on consumer hardware, well, maybe now we code it in a way that's more versatile and can be compiled to run a stripped-down version with less features for the customer machine at end of life. Or hey, if that's not doable, then we scrap that, but still give customers some form of server software at end of life because now we planned for this, and inform them it requires specialized hardware, and they're on their own for getting it working. And these are all just suggestions. The publisher will get to decide how they want to comply. Thor is not alone in developers trashing what I just said. I don't know why, but some of the nastiest insults I've received on the entire campaign have been when I try to explain this is what we're asking for. This part in particular triggers some people to no end.
That video made me actually mad. Like real mad. Not like fake memes mad, like actually mad. Like I'm actually mad.
Upsetting people is not our goal, by the way. We actually want this transition to be as easy as possible for publishers and developers. However, we are stubbornly against proposals that won't stop commercial games being destroyed, because that's the whole point. Anyway, you heard Thor's comments for me. In light of that, I think I've been pretty diplomatic. I am just trying to get this initiative passed. If that means I have to get insulted all along the way, okay. So with that in mind, I reached out to him, not expecting to change his mind, but to at least clarify things since he got so much wrong. If you're gonna hate us, at least hate us for what we're actually doing, not for things that are made up about us.
I got a message from Ross. There were many other misunderstandings in your video. It's clear that you hate the initiative, and I doubt I would change that. That is correct. I would encourage you to at least hate it for what it accurately is. I do.
He says that so confidently. Oh yeah, you knocked it out of the park. You understood everything.
In other words, the customer is told explicitly that their access ends at the time of payment. Most live service games do not do this, which could run afoul of EU law. Most is patently incorrect.
Patently incorrect. Okay, for those who don't know
Show how then.
much about live service games, that's like saying the Earth isn't round. He says verifiably false things so confidently. If his viewers don't know any better, how can I blame anyone for believing what he says about the initiative when he talks like that? It's incredible. And he does not wish to discuss this with me or anyone else in the initiative. Why not?
Would you consider reaching out and talking to Ross about it? No. And the reason why is because I found his entire statement over the YouTube incredibly disingenuous.
Yes, this issue which has bothered me
Because Ross is smarter than you, and he'll prove you wrong. And you can't handle that.
since I was a teenager and I've spent 10 years on trying to push back against is me being disingenuous. Where's this coming from? Well, it comes from a slide I had in my promotional video, the half-joke slide. He hated this, and I think he may have a rather privileged view of politics.
You want to put together legislation because it's the right thing to do.
We did.
Not because you can convince legal representatives to do it no matter what.
It's both. These are not mutually exclusive things.
The idea that we're going to go through this because it's an easy win, but not the right win? No, dude.
Oh, God. So he misunderstood the initiative and misunderstood our intentions. And in his words, this is why he refuses to have a dialogue with the movement. So now I have to address it. Let's keep it basic. He calls me disingenuous, implying I don't believe what I'm pushing for, that this is some sort of con. That's uncharitable to the point of being silly. Besides video evidence going back 10 years, this is not a hard concept to grasp. I hate seeing creative works needlessly destroyed when people are trying to save them, and video games are where I see that happen the most. Of course I believe in what I'm advocating for. Maybe start from there. I'm a little surprised that didn't sink in.
The idea of getting it to pass with an easy win instead of pass because it's good is a problem to me. Absolute problem.
That's not how politics works. Do you think things pass because they're good ideas? Tell that to people who still have lead in their water. A lot of gamers are jaded with good cause. The industry has been shaking them down every which way. The perception that it's hopeless to protect their rights against billion-dollar conglomerates is often correct. If I told people this would pass just because it's a good idea, I wouldn't believe me. This slide is a half joke, but it's also
Why? Why are they taking friendly fire damage from this? They shouldn't be.
totally cynical reasons that are often true to let people know we have a chance and this isn't utterly hopeless. Do you think I or most people in the movement give a damn why politicians might pass something good? What we care about is that they pass something good. We don't need them to be true believers, we need them to pass good law. This is as soft as it possibly gets in politics. I think most politicians would find this slide funny. It sounds like he's offended I have a low opinion of the political process. Well, I'm the one in the trenches here. I'm not sure if he's upset at me or just upset at reality. Yeah, I am too. Anyway, he went on to delete my reply to him. Thankfully, someone backed it up, and I figured, okay, he hates this, it was thrust upon him by his viewers, I'll just leave him be. Well, that was a mistake on my part, because then he went on to make more videos about me in the movement, now reaching over 1 million views, still broadcasting the wrong
Right, because he's a plant. How many signals does he need to give you before you figure it out?
information on us. I guess I'm being petty here, but this is alien thinking to me. Why would you call someone out, then run away from a conversation with them when they say there's a misunderstanding, but then go on to make more videos calling them out? Sir, that is not gentlemanly behavior. All right, I know this is going on too long, so I'll get to the final point. Thor misunderstood the initiative, misunderstood our intentions, and misinformed a lot of people about both. But the irony is, I think he would have hated it even more if he did understand it. Because first, he doesn't see any of this as a problem.
Gaming isn't in need of saving. No, it's not a form of planned obsolescence. It's called the game no longer being profitable and we turn it off. No games are being destroyed here. These are live service games.
Yeah, you heard him. No games are being destroyed. Does he just say anything? Is that why he's popular? More to the point, and what I wish he included in his main video, is he supports games being destroyed.
A very strange demand from people in the gaming industry where live service games should live forever, whether in the hands of the developer or otherwise. And I can't get behind that shit. I think live service games getting sunsetted is fine. I've always thought that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I have no problems with the end of a video game.
See, I wish he started his big YouTube video with that message instead of deleting it. Instead, he presented himself as pro-preservation.
Yeah, he deleted it because his corporate overlords that pay him saw it and said, that's not helping our cause, man. Take it down, take it down. Come on, all the signs are there. Come on, the dots are there. Connect them, brother, connect them. You got this.
And not wanting the medium to die out.
It's incredibly important to me that we keep making games and that the next generation has the tools to do so their medium doesn't die out. And it never will. And that's the whole intention of all of this.
So he doesn't want games to die out, except he's fine with that. I think there's some cognitive dissonance going on there. And he's against killing single-player games that only have a DRM check.
He's trying to ride the line. The cognitive dissonance is he realizes if he pushes the corporate narrative that he's being paid to push too hard, then his audience might push back. What you're seeing here is a result of that pushback. His audience started to push back a little bit, and he was getting some flack for it. So now he's trying to find that middle ground where he can agree with them while also still pushing the narrative. You're right. He's trying to have it both ways.
Okay, but then says people who buy single-player games with more than a DRM check are stupid, and he doesn't play those.
I don't buy games that are always online single-player games. I refuse to play those because it's stupid.
That's some tough talk coming from a fan of Diablo 4.
It's actually really freaking good, dude. The game's fantastic. Itemization is great. Systems design is great. Storyline has been fantastic.
Fucking get wrecked.
The characters are good, the voice acting is great.
So is he saying he wouldn't have played Diablo 4's single-player campaign if it didn't have forced multiplayer also, even though he's praising it and appears to be playing solo? Or is he saying that people that just wanted to play Diablo 4 single-player are stupid? I admit I got lost on a stance there. What's more clear to me is we're not on the same side. Here's a list of some popular games that are all at risk of being destroyed at some time in the future. The Stop Killing Games movement sees any of these being destroyed as a problem, and they're exactly the kinds of games that would start being protected if the initiative passed. Now, a lot of these do have single-player campaigns, but I believe they all require more than a simple DRM check. He says over and over that his problem with the initiative is the wording, and it's vague. But there is no wording he would like that also saves games like these, because he's on the opposite side of this. If he's totally fine with games like these...
God, he's so close to getting it. He's so fucking close. I keep like going, is he gonna do it? Has he figured it out? Come on, you're so close, brother.
Being disabled forever, well, guess what? That's the position of the industry causing this entire problem in the first place. And that's the final point. Thor says he disagrees with how we're going about trying to end game destruction, but he also disagrees with the goal itself. No, wait, I want to be fair. He's only against 99% of it minus that tiny provision he made up. So once you understand that, then of course it makes sense that he's against this
He didn't make it up. They told him to say it.
Stop Killing Games movement. Because we're trying to stop killing games. Now, if you're in Thor's camp and think killing all these games is fine and are as things should be, okay, then it's just a values clash. And yeah, you'll hate the initiative too. I'm not trying to tell you otherwise. But if you think you might have been misled about what the initiative is, hey, maybe look at it again. Tell others about it. Help undo some of the damage. There is still time. It closes July 31st. Thor lying about what the campaign is about, remember, second definition, has caused more damage to it than anything else I'm aware of. Now, I've heard some people say, no, it caused a Streisand effect and led to more coverage. Well, if you look at the signature rate, it suggests the opposite. I've also been told a big streamer, like in that group I mentioned earlier, you know, the kind that are so big they could end this, avoided talking about Stop Killing Games because of Thor's take on it. Remember, at the time he did this, Piratesoftware was a well-respected developer looked up to by the internet community for having good takes on gaming. And I was, and still am, the weirdo with no credentials other than not wanting games destroyed. So with Thor being seen as the smartest guy in the room and firmly against the initiative, I think that led some...
Don't worry, after this we'll watch the Philip DeFranco thing, and yes, Charlie, Moist Critical has weighed in that one of those big creators he just listed there said that they won't do anything. Well, he kind of snapped for a second, so he called him out. So if you won't call him out, then looks like Moist Critical will. Well-spoken does not equal smart. Exactly. And I'd argue he's not even particularly well-spoken. I mean, he's well-spoken enough. He's not as bad. See, his I don't think is intentional. I don't think he's intentionally saying, well, intentional for different reasons. He is smart and he is well-spoken, but he's speaking for someone else. Whereas you have someone who is well-spoken and they'll speak intelligently and say nothing. That's a different thing. So that's the Jordan Peterson approach. And there's no better example of that. And maybe we'll watch that on stream one day. Because I've watched one of his videos in the past and his stands came in the comments to fucking yell at me. And I was like, but he was wrong. He just used a lot of words to say a wrong thing. And then when you like boil it down to what he actually said, because that's what he does. Jordan Peterson will spend like 2 or 3 minutes to say nothing. To essentially say nothing. And there's no better example of that than the Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. It's a video where he spends the entire hour answering no questions and essentially saying nothing. He just uses a lot of words to fill the time because they're on a time limit until the person in front of him runs out of time. And then he moves on to the next topic and does it again and does it again and does it again. He says nothing for the entirety of that thing. He makes no stance, he says nothing, and he provides no value. But he talks a lot. And people, that shit, the Jordan Peterson shit works on dumb people. Dumb people hear big words that they can't define, and then they think he's saying something because they don't know what he just said. They can't define half the words in the sentence. And if he's using all those complicated words, he must be smart, right? Yeah, it works on dumb people. Piratesoftware doesn't do that. He doesn't use a lot of big words that normal people don't understand. He talks in words normal people can understand. He just comes to the opposite conclusion of what any normal gamer would come to. He comes to the conclusion a suit in a boardroom at one of these AAA companies would come to. He's their mouthpiece.
Internet figures did not want to touch this, lest they be seen like a fool in the eyes of Thor. Now, as I understand it, that risk may have lowered since then, but it doesn't really matter if nobody else talks about it, because he was there to kill the momentum when we needed it the most, and we never got it back. Okay, that's it on him. I did not enjoy having to do that segment, but I've had to do a lot of things on this campaign I don't like. Believe it or not, my goal was not to tarnish Thor's reputation. That's incidental. I don't care. He can be hailed as a national hero. Whatever. The goal was to expose the damage done to the campaign to try and fix it. I do think he's someone who would have defended the divine right of kings hundreds of years ago, but I don't wish him ill will. On the contrary, I hope he finds some peace of mind. Now you might be thinking, is this campaign really so fragile that one big streamer can sink it just by...
I'm so disappointed that this guy either didn't put it together or you've got to have, this guy seems smart enough to put it together, but he's a smaller creator. He was probably just scared to call it out. Either way, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that you either didn't get it, you walked up to the line of it and just were scared to cross it, or yeah, you were scared to cross the line. You either walked up to the line and couldn't see it, or you walked up to the line and were scared to cross it. Either way, I'm disappointed.
by misrepresenting it? Oh, yeah, it totally is. It's been an uphill battle almost every step of the way. It sinks or swims to the whims of what big streamers do. It kind of reminds me of the Greek gods. That part about easy wins, that's for the politicians, not us. Ours are hard as nails. There are reasons it took me 9 years before I was ever...
And what he said does denote an air of intelligence if you keep in mind the end goal of what he's saying. You got to keep like the purpose of what he's saying in mind. The purpose isn't honesty. You're right. If he was honestly saying all of these things, then he would be an idiot. But when he's being told that he has to sway gamers and move the public perception to this place, then everything he says starts to make sense. It's there to push a narrative. He's their spin doctor.
ever able to actually do anything on this. It's a miracle it's gotten as far as it has. Now, I've seen people ask, if the initiative fails, then what's next? I've tried to explain this before. There is no next. What's next was a year and a half ago with all those other things we've tried. We're at the final phase now. The European Citizens Initiative is our last possible chance to change anything. See, there are things governments and consumer groups are doing, and then there are things that us, the general public, are doing. After July, I see nothing left for us. So does that mean Stop Killing Games has failed? Well, no, nobody knows yet. We won't know the answer to that for a long time, maybe years. Government moves
A couple days, you figured it out. It's dead. Gotcha.
slowly. The initiative will be what's failed, not everything else. Without the initiative, we still have about 5 other chances for this to work. We have the consumer agencies.
Okay. Well, let's see what the other things are. Maybe there is a chance. I know the initiative's dead.
In France, Germany, and Australia, and possibly help from the BEUC and the UFC Cush Wazir, though those are iffier. But all their work is underway. It's out of our hands now. Now, I've heard some say, what if we launch the initiative again? Well, someone else can try that, not me. I tried my absolute damnedest writing off the publicity of the cruise shutdown and barely got halfway. It took a chunk out of my life with almost nothing to show for it. No way am I going to spearhead something like this again. I saw this as my only shot. I took it to the best of my ability. That wasn't good enough. I have no reason to think that doing it again will be successful. On the contrary, I think it would do far worse. And that doesn't mean I'm being defeatist. I will continue saying yes to almost any opportunity that emerges until July 31st. I have some skepticism, but I'm still available for Stop Killing Games until then. Though remember, you don't have to go through me at all. You just have to send people to the initiative. After that, no, I'm done. In fact, I think some people might be surprised just how done I am after July. It's not that I will have changed my mind on game destruction, except that there's nothing left after that. So I don't want to waste even more of my life on this. I've paid my dues. My income's dropped significantly since I started this because I haven't had time to make more fun videos which people would rather watch. And I don't blame them one bit. So besides being sick of running this thing, I have to make it for lost time so I can pay rent. Plus, believe it or not, I want time to actually play games and not just fight to keep them all the time. I'll still do the bare minimum if it helps. For example, Germany's consumer agency contacted me at one point because they wanted more information on the cruise EULA for their investigation. So I assisted with that. That was surprising because I have no authority on that at all. And I would have thought they would have had better sources than me. But yeah, I can do pilot light activity like that if it really helps. Just no more campaigning. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against people doing more after July. I just think your odds will be horrendous, and I don't want to dump my time into doomed causes. If the law on game destruction in the EU and Australia was as locked down as it is in the United States, I never would have even started this campaign. Now, I've said this initiative resulted in almost nothing. Well, we did get a little bit. For me personally, I got the feeling of knowing I did everything I could, so I won't have any more nagging doubts like, oh, if only I had tried harder, I could have saved video games. No, I can close the book on that. So I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror after this. That's a plus for me and anyone else who tried their best. But the only other thing I think the initiative accomplished was we inadvertently saved 2 games. This is hearsay again, but according to an insider at the company, Ubisoft announced offline modes for the Crew 2 and Motorfest because they were afraid the European Citizens Initiative would pass and thought this might kill some of the momentum. Ironically, I don't think they needed to have bothered. We were already losing momentum when they announced that because, well, you know why. But not killing games is the whole point of this, and I guarantee you Ubisoft had no end-of-life plans for those games prior to this movement. They were absolutely slated to die. Now, if I could have picked any 2 online games to save, I can't say those would have been my choices, but that is something tangible that the initiative changed.
Yeah, it's the little victories, man. You got to take them.
Assuming Ubisoft isn't lying. At the time of this video, they still haven't delivered on it yet. So is that it? Is that all the initiative accomplished? Well, without the signatures, sadly, yes, I think so. But some people might say, no, we did more than that. We shifted the narrative. So what? My only goal with this was to stop games from being destroyed. All the talk in the world won't fix that without action. Without the initiative, any victory we get is going to come from one of these 5 paths we opened up. Speaking of which, what should we expect from that? I honestly don't know. I give all of these coin toss odds. I do think it is highly, highly likely Ubisoft is going to get fined for something by more than one agency. Don't take my word for it. German channel WBS Legal thinks the same. The problem in their eyes is that Ubisoft shut down the Crew with only 3 months notice, and they should have provided more like 2 years. Yeah, hear me now, quote me later. If all that comes from Stop Killing Games is companies in the EU need to give 2 years notice before they shut down a game, then I will consider it an abject failure. It won't save games, that wasn't our goal, it'll piss off companies, everybody loses. But that's the risk of making this work under existing law rather than proposing sensible law under the initiative. Fingers crossed the agencies make a better decision than that. Now, since this is a wrap-up video and I don't know what the outcome will be, I might as well present both scenarios. First, if we win and have a clear victory through one of these avenues, oh boy, If I think I have threats and hate mail now, I bet I haven't seen anything yet. I'd like to say whatever happens because of these avenues, we didn't write them and never had any authority here. All we could do was report the problem. The European Citizens Initiative is what was written by the movement, and that's what's failing. Now, for people who want my head over this, I doubt they'll care, but I wanted to point that out. I'll say right now, the transition could be bumpy. It all depends on how hard the industry fights it. And yes, it's possible it could end some games on death row prematurely. So games that were designed to die could still die, but after that, almost all games would start being protected. Because I know there's some clown that's going to find one example of a game shutting down early and then use that as proof that enforcing the law is bad, even though the industry is going to kill it anyway. That's the logic I'm expecting. So there could be bumps, but give it 3 to 5 years and it will smooth out, become an industry standard, and then you'll have people who were against it claiming they were for it all along. Hey, remember how there were people speaking out against letting customers refund games before 2014, and they're kind of quiet now? I do. I think it'll be a lot like that. So that's if we win. If we lose, in other words, all 5 of these avenues get shot down, well, then things are going to be almost exactly like they are right now. Except then there will be no pretending we have consumer rights. If you're a gamer, it will be codified into law that you're a consumer chattel who doesn't deserve to keep what you buy. Or if you're renting, informed of how long you get to rent. So, cool. The games industry brought back one of feudalism's greatest hits. Now, even that reality I consider preferable to what's going on now, because then we at least know we're legally screwed. Besides the obvious, what drove me crazy about this issue and the reason I started this campaign is because in many countries, no laws were ever passed on this. Nobody voted on this. Companies just started taking away your purchases. Nobody stopped them, and it slowly got normalized. It's felt like a coup. So the idea that hundreds of games are being destroyed just because we're letting it happen drove me up the wall. If we're...
Yeah, I feel your pain, and a lot of that is part of the consumers just being brainwashed because these corporations normalize things. You're right, they got normalized. And I can't believe that you haven't seen, or at least refused to call out, that Piratesoftware is part of that normalization process. He's one of the tools they are using.
Screwed, let's be told that to our faces and not have contradicting laws pretending we have rights. Yeah, that's the one thing I can promise this campaign will deliver, which is answers. There will be no more frog boiling after this. Either the frog hops out of the pot or it's dead. Now, even if we lose 100%, it's not like I'll change my mind on thinking destroying creative works when people want to save them is wrong. I'll probably drift even farther towards trying to save game worlds, at least. I made a video about this sort of thing. I'm optimistic about technology assisting with being able to extract environments from games and port them in the future. So hopefully we can salvage more from the ashes that are getting burned down in games. So that's stop killing games. If you're depending on me to save the initiative, then I think it's going to fail. Skill issue, as they say. My only closing thoughts on this is that this is all just so stupid. It's stupid that we didn't have clear laws on this to begin with, that this practice continued for decades without clear laws on it, that it was going to continue without our intervention, that it takes so much work and so many people to even report a violation, that me, a chump YouTuber, was the one spearheading this, that it was easily derailed by a bigger YouTuber, convincing gamers that having their games destroyed is a good thing. It's all so stupid. I've heard some people say before that we're on the worst timeline. No, things could be so much worse. I think some people have no idea.
At some point, I might make a video on this and actually do some research and stuff, because this phenomenon of, people just becoming so invested in their streamer, whether it be Piratesoftware and the gaming community, or Denims, Frogan, Hassan, and the political sphere, or even people in the drama community, all communities seem to have this, where their audience will defend anything they do without question. This cult-like mentality that streamers seem to have the ability to make, and what that says about us as a society. I may make that video trying to analyze that, and if there's anything we can do to fucking stop it, because it's beyond parasocial. It's something else, man.
Yeah, but if you were to say we're on the...
Because these are people who the people in the Piratesoftware camp are people who would agree with him no matter what he said, even if they know it's wrong. Which is exactly what's happening. They know he's wrong with the stop killing games thing, but that's why the big higher ups at Blizzard pay him to push that narrative, because he's so successful at pushing it, because of the cult-like fan base. Seriously, it'll be in this video. I guarantee it. Anytime I make a video reacting to anything even remotely adjacent to Piratesoftware, those people come out of the woodwork. It's the same thing with Carl Jobs. It's the same thing with Dark Viper. It's the same thing with any of these creators that have a cult-like fan base. It doesn't matter if everything I say is factually right and I can prove it. They don't care. They are just going. They are there to defend their streamer's honor, no matter what. They are willing to ignore reality to do it, and it blows my mind. There has to be a way to stop this.
Dumbest timeline? I don't know if I could argue against that. See ya.
Just pay attention to the comments. If you're in this video now, that's the end of this one. So if you're watching this video where I reacted to this, after this fight, I'm going to bring up more context to show what happened after this video, because this video is a couple of days old. I promise you, there will be people in my comments right now under this video that are here to glaze Piratesoftware and tell you why I'm wrong and that I don't understand, but they'll offer no explanation. They never do. They'll always tell you everything the streamer told them to say, and when you ask them to explain it, they can't because the streamer hasn't given them the magic words to explain it yet. They'll resort to ad hominems, to personal insults, and then they'll tell me to delete my channel and blah blah blah, or go kill myself. It's the same thing every time, over and over again. And you'll see it under this video. I can almost guarantee it. Unless they actually got smart and watched till the end, or I guess the midway point, whatever this is going to be, where they can see that I've called them out and thus prevented them from leaving those comments. Okay, so that's the end of that video. So now we got our background on stop killing games. So what does that mean? Let's go into our interview mode, because we're gonna pull some. We're about to pull some shit up here, boys. All right. So real quick, another quick video we're going to watch. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We're going to watch, where is it? It was right under this one. There it is. So we're going to watch Philip DeFranco's doing a segment on it today, 7 hours ago, explaining what happened since this video. So we'll get the quick rundown from Philip DeFranco, see if he nailed everything, because he tends to be a safe, edgy kind of guy. He just reports on it but doesn't want to piss off anybody, so he tends to walk the line. So we'll see how deep into it he goes, and if he doesn't go deep enough, we will go deeper. Well, we're going to go deeper regardless. But anyway.
The fight over the future of gaming and your digital rights
that is what she said. All right. All right. I'm going to slow Philip down to 1.5, though, because having him at 1.75 is a little bit too fast for Philip. It's fast enough for that guy. It's a little too fast for Philip. All right. So break it down for us, Philly D.
The fight over the future of gaming and your digital rights just exploded in a controversy now involving Moist Critical, Asmongold, Piratesoftware, and more of the biggest creators in the world. The Secretary of Defense just had a nuclear meltdown on a Fox News reporter during a press briefing about blowing up Iran, but it's only part of the story. Trump is now planning a victory tour for a bill that hasn't even passed yet, but his own party might be the reason that it dies.
All right, hold on. That's his intro. Let's just skip to the part that we want to see. Oh, it is this part. Okay, so it's after the intro.
Supreme Court just handed red states a roadmap to defund Planned Parenthood, quietly gutting a core protection for Medicaid patients nationwide. We're talking about all that and much more on today's extra-large Philip DeFranco show. You daily dive into the news, starting with this. You've got a war raging right now in the gaming and creator space, where gamers are drawing lines in the sand right now because an initiative to fundamentally change the industry is about to fail after repeated attacks by one of the biggest names in the industry, Piratesoftware. It's called Stop Killing Games, and it's meant to start a conversation in legislatures around the world about how to let users keep playing the games they paid for, even after a company has completely shut it down. And notably, it struggled to get over 50% of the required signatures to even be considered by legislatures like the EU Parliament, and the deadline for that is fast approaching. Right, and it appears that one of the reasons for this lack of movement is that the guy who started this whole thing, created by the name of Accursed Farms, he admitted in a video this week that he didn't push it hard enough. But he also blames the streamer Piratesoftware, who has been critical of the whole premise behind Stop Killing Games and whose coverage was by far the most viewed. Right, it appears that he first talked about this on stream nearly a year ago and made it clear that even if he could sign it, he wouldn't. And in that video, he mentions that the whole point of an initiative is to start a conversation, but
the reason why I have a problem with Stop Killing Games is specifically it starts the wrong conversation. If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single-player experience, and then taking away support in the future, this ain't it.
with then going on to
That was corporate speak. That's what the corpos at these companies want you to think this is about. That no more live service games, which would mean, oh no, they're trying to kill Fortnite. What? No. Yeah. They're trying to make it sound like they're trying to kill all of the most popular games, which is not what it was about. Those are his corporate marching orders.
read the first few lines of the initiative, which essentially just wants developers to give users a way to play their games once the publisher no longer wishes to support it, with Piratesoftware saying,
This isn't always possible in all video games, and it doesn't call out the specific practice that this is supposedly trying to defeat. It is incredibly vague and will damage all live service games. How would you keep League of Legends in a functional playable state? You'd have
So
to
we just went over all the reasons he's wrong here. I'm not going to comment any further. We'll see what Philip has to say on it.
re-architect the entire game.
and then you see him go on to give technical details about why that's the case, but you get the idea. And then in his other video, he addresses two of the main
It's
concerns.
obvious Philip doesn't know anything about this. He's just reading facts and going off whatever topic is trending because it's Philip DeFranco. So you're not going to probably get much pushback from him.
Brought up after his stream, where people had pushed back that, yeah, if a live service game is being sunsetted, people should get the ability to play it if they want to still. And that could either be by making it a single-player experience or by releasing the tools that players would need to make their own private servers. And to that, you had Pirate saying,
Now, many of you are requesting, yes, I should get the server binaries so that I can go and make private servers for this. But that doesn't make a lot of sense in the real world. And the reason why is because it leaves developers open to abuse.
you then see him go into
How?
this hypothetical situation where a bad actor wants to make a private server of a game, let's say an MMO, and monetize it. But obviously, a studio wouldn't allow that for as long as the actual game is still alive. And so this bad actor attacks the game's social media, bots the game until it's miserable to play, figures out exploits, etc. And this eventually leads to the original game dying, and then Pirate claiming that under this initiative, the bad actor would get access to the server tools needed to start that private server, at which point they can monetize. And you have Pirate claiming that the initiative does nothing to stop any of that, with them then also making other comments on stream throughout the past year, but once again, you get the idea. Which then brings us back to this week's video.
In that wild hypothetical world, could you ever see that fucking happening? That one guy who's like, oh, I could make so much money off a WoW server if they shut down the official ones and release the software to make a server. So I'm going to do a bunch of bots in the game, and that'll make the game miserable to play, and everybody's going to quit playing so that they'll come to my server. Let's forget about the fact that once the server software is released to the public, there'll be a bunch of options for server, not just this one guy. So that's a huge gamble on his part and a huge undertaking that he'd have to pay tons of money for in order to shut down $1 billion game. It would never fucking happen. This is fear mongering. Again, corporate marching orders.
By Accursed Farms. Right in it, he details how the initiative is essentially right up against the wall here with just a few weeks to go. And flat out, he just doesn't think that he'll get enough signatures in the UK for it to be considered. Though he is slightly more optimistic about the EU, which had around 50% of the 1 million signatures needed. And so with that in mind, he decided he needed to address Piratesoftware's claims, which Accursed Farms says are categorically false. So he also said he didn't even want to do it since he felt it was a bit internet drama-y, but he felt he had to since it was hurting the initiative.
Okay, I really don't want to do this next part, but it's become a liability for the campaign for me not to. Our biggest critic by far is YouTuber and streamer Piratesoftware, who goes by Thor. If your only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been misinformed. This video is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying to stop it, and has been making up what it is about.
So he goes on to give examples of how he says that Piratesoftware is fundamentally getting things wrong about Stop Killing Games, with this being one example.
Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically, we don't want single-player games
No.
to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they want
No.
it to be about specifically games, whereas a single-player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists, instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
Every live service game that exists, which is going to cause panic, it's fear-mongering. Everyone's going to go, no, don't shut down Fortnite. No, don't shut down Warzone. No, don't shut down Apex Legends, League of Legends, World of Warcraft. Yeah, like, this is fear-mongering meant to induce panic so that everybody hates the thing. And I can't see a reason why a gamer and a streamer would want that dead. Especially when the first line of the thing disproves this entire argument that he's cooked up here, unless he's getting those marching orders, unless he's getting this from somebody in Blizzard, his dad perhaps, or whoever's cutting his paycheck.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. This is what I mean.
I do.
It's harder for gamers to understand this because they come with so many assumptions. It's like that saying about doctors being the worst patients. So let's clear this up. It's the first line on
Or maybe he's getting his marching orders from his gay furry boyfriend. If you guys are really interested in that, I can give you... There's a DM leak I can read you.
the website. Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers.
With the shorter version of that being that Pirate allegedly made straw man arguments about everything that Stop Killing Games wants to do. Now, despite this, you have people reaching out to Accursed Farms to work with Pirate on something, since Pirate is allegedly pro-developer and consumer, etc. But Accursed really didn't appear to want to because of how rude Piratesoftware was when speaking about the project. Which, regarding that, you have people noting, if you just watched the 2 videos that Pirate made on YouTube, you'd think that he was being pretty reasonable and calm because, he was in those videos. But you have people saying when he's on stream, he had a whole different tone, saying things like,
Oh shit, no, this is actually really dumb. It's a used car salesman.
Yeah, he's a big asshole. He's a dick. He's a smug, fucking egotistical moron.
Garbage. This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to. That is awful. That is a horrible goddamn direction. That's awful, dude. No, eat my entire ass. The level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is ass. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit then. I drop the mask entirely. I have no qualms about that. They can eat my entire ass.
and so there you have people saying you can see why Accursed Farms wasn't thrilled to talk with Piratesoftware.
This man really loves ass play.
and frustrated that the guy he thinks fundamentally doesn't understand the initiative is the dominant voice about it online. Also, it's not like creators hadn't tried to defend Stop Killing Games in the past. Our streamer Josh Stripe, he's made 2 videos that got about 400,000 views, totally reflecting on the situation and some of Pirate Software's claims. But then what you saw is things really taking a turn this week. Right in that, because a huge voice in the community, Moist Critical, came to the defense of Stop Killing Games, and now it's actually the most viewed video on the topic. Right? And one important thing that he does is near the start of the video, he tries to make it very clear what Stop Killing Games is about.
I'll pause right there. The simplest bare bones birthday.
Okay, this is what I was gonna look up on Twitter anyway, but yeah, I'm glad Moist finally said something.
Suit butt-ass naked explanation for what this is. Stop destroying things that people have paid money to own. I think that is a very understandable, very reasonable take. Very agreeable.
Right, and then you see that he's also highly critical of Pirate Software's explanation of Stop Killing Games.
Yes.
saying,
He didn't even get the Cliff Notes summary right. He missed all the QTEs and got the bad ending on understanding the initiative from the jump here.
Right, and then you see him make sure to clarify that.
It is about the whole practice of destroying games that consumers have already purchased and having no end-of-life plans for games that are being sunset.
And you had Asmongold adding on to that while reacting to this clip saying,
And
It's
this
consumer protection laws. This is effectively what this initiative is. At its very core is consumer rights advocacy. It's not about video games. It's not about Ubisoft. It's not about what's in a terms of service of a
Thank
video
you.
game or not. It's really about consumer rights and people having the ability to choose what's going to happen with their own stuff.
and those two were hardly
And who would really want consumers not to have those rights? Who would want to control consumers? Why would another streamer, a consumer of video games, like all those other ones, be against that?
the only ones who have come to the defense of the initiative. Right? Mutahar, for example, some ordinary gamers made a similar video and largely bashed Pirate Software for getting things wrong about the initiative or how infeasible it would be for consumers to set up things like their own private servers. However, he did agree with Pirate Software about one thing.
Now, one thing that I will agree with Thor on over here is sometimes it may not be easy for a game to cut itself off. So, for instance, let's say that you're designing an MMO game, right? And I'm going to make this as simple as possible.
Then they need to design it so that it is. That's the point of the initiative. You dumb fuck. Is not for previous games, but for games going forward to bake that into the design process so that it is easy for them to turn off because they know they're not going to keep it on forever. That's all this initiative is about an exit strategy for the game. It's only hard now because of the way they do it. They just have to change the way they make games in the future. That's the fucking point, Muda Tahar.
Whenever you connect to an MMO game like World of Warcraft,
Ooh boy, Mudahar here, and I don't know how games work. You boys want to install Linux?
you launch a client. Your client communicates with a server. Now, sometimes on that server, there could be other technologies that don't belong to Blizzard, for instance, that they need to, license, they need to interface with in order to run their games.
This was already explained better by the other guy in his chart and the way you stop this. Did you not see his video on it? Because it broke that down. I understood it, and I've never made a game in my life.
So obviously, it may be a problem down the road when World of Warcraft ends, if it ends, that to release that binary,
World of Warcraft wouldn't be included in this. He specifically said it is not applied retroactively.
they have to start calling up some of these companies, or like calling them and being like, hey, by the way, can we distribute some of your code? Can we distribute like whatever you've licensed with us? And that company may or may not agree, right?
And so taken together, all of these videos over the last few days has meant millions of views, and most of them critical of Pirate Software.
And people like Mudahar getting it wrong. Jesus. Mudahar's not an industry plant, he's just a moron.
So of course you'd expect a response, and he's touched on it over on Twitter. With his first tweet about it seeming to have been deleted, but his other response is still up, and it's a dissertation. Even though I would make this video longer, and we just love that watch time, I'm not going to read it all out loud, so here's a short version. He explains what he said in his 2 videos about the topic, and then writes, my main issue with this initiative is that it is broad in its approach to change the industry, and the exact language of the initiative, not the FAQ, requests that all games stay in a functional, playable state. Saying this is not feasible for all games at a technical level and could potentially restrict developers from making online-only games like MMOs, MOBAs, and user-generated content games in the future. Saying that list is not exhaustive, and it doesn't matter if you do or don't like those kinds of games.
How though? How? If they designed the game from the ground up to remain in a functional, playable state, that can mean a lot of things. It's open to interpretation for a reason. They're basically just saying, we want the developers to make this happen, we don't care how. And if they design it from the ground up, remember, the supplies of future games, I don't know why they keep trying to make it sound like, well, I know why he keeps trying, but it's obviously confused even people like Mudahar into thinking that it applies to games that are out now. It won't. It only applies to games that would be made after the law passes, and which means they could design a game from the ground up to work on their servers for X amount of time, and then have an exit strategy for when they shut down, so they remain in a functional, playable state.
Saying effectively, this is the potential to restrict future developers from making kick-ass experiences because it locks a weight on their design. He then also
How? Tell me how. I don't understand how. I don't. If you're designing the game to be that from the jump, how would it restrict them? He doesn't elaborate.
also addressed claims that he was opposed to Stop Killing Games because of his professional life, saying in addition to streaming, he makes a game.
Oh, so I'm not the only one who's called him out for being an industry plant. Good.
And is the director of strategy at Ludwig's Off-Brand Games, saying that he's paid minimum wage for the gig because he cares more about helping games succeed. Additionally, he says that the games they make are all offline anyway, so this wouldn't even affect them. But, quote, not all games are like this, and not all games can be like this. And this post has driven this all even further, but one thing that people like Josh Stripe Hayes pointed out was that, quote, one of the main issues is when you go from attacking the argument with reason-source counter-arguments to attacking the person with demeaning, bullying insults. Saying even if people wanted to...
Oh, you mean that thing Piratesoftware does on a regular basis, like we just saw him do earlier? You mean that?
listen to your side and even support you, your attitude is driving people away. Right? And that then led to a bit of a back and forth where Piratesoftware argued that people shouldn't be supporting a legal initiative based on whether they like the person bringing it to the table, but based on what
and calling out Piratesoftware's fan base, because that's how they make their decisions.
It says. So still, many have felt that Pirate's just being stubborn about his positions, and that's causing a ton of friction. All of which actually led to Moist Critical making an update.
Yes, here it is.
Said.
No one hates Piratesoftware because he doesn't agree with Stop Killing Games. The reason so many people are angry at him, myself included here, you can disagree with the movement all you want. If you don't like the initiative, I'm not your dad. You make your own choices there. But the reason so many people, myself included, do not like how Piratesoftware is handling all this is he is refusing, outright refusing, to just admit any level of fault.
And he then claims that the tweets we just covered sent him off the rails. But apparently, Moist, alongside Josh...
Oh, all right. I'm gonna look at that video on Twitter because that's the one where he went in on him, but for some reason, Philip DeFranco felt the need to cut him off before he got to the actual criticism.
Stripe Hayes had some DMs with Piratesoftware that caused him to at least issue a kind of apology, saying, just talk to Charlie and Josh Stripe Hayes for a bit in DMs. If you're mad at me for being a dick to Ross, I get it, and I'm sorry for that. I should not have lashed out, but I had an emotional response.
Oh, God, can I find him being a dick to Ross? Because Ross is kind of a dick, too. But Ross is a dick in a lovable way, because he's a dick against companies, not people. You're a dick to people. So I want to see like him and Ross go at it, man. I want a debate between him and Ross on the topic. If the other guy want to talk to you, I bet Louis Rossman will, and that dude will go in on you. It'll be just give Rossman a reason to go gloves off on a person and not a fucking corporation.
Response due to how important this subject is to me. He then also went on to say that this is a personal topic for him and that, quote, if you want all games to be left in a functional, playable state, then you need to listen to people when they talk about how infeasible that will be in a lot of situations. And saying, since this is the initiative...
Name one, God damn it.
Primary goal is listed on the ECI page, it's kind of important to resolve that. With many then noting there that it still looks like he hasn't admitted getting anything wrong like people have claimed. But then, with all this, the coverage and the conversation, there's the question...
No, Piratesoftware admitting to wrong will never happen.
Of, well, has it helped the initiative? And there, the answer is kind of. Right, it now has 55.5% of the signatures that it needs in the EU, which is a pretty drastic rise in just a couple of days. But still, it's really far off from its goal of 1 million by the end of July. Which is why I'll say, if you're an EU citizen that's watching this and you want to support, I'll include a link in the description. And again, just to remind you, this is an initiative. It's urging lawmakers to start a conversation about how to deal with games when companies want to shut them down. You got people like Pirate who are concerned that the language is too vague and will steer lawmakers in the wrong direction and actually hurt developers. But that is, you have supporters thinking it's a great start to actually getting some protections for consumers who spend money on the games and then lose access.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the negotiation. And how he doesn't, I keep giving him the grace I shouldn't of going, how does he not know this? Of course he knows this. They're not going to make the law based on the language that some douchebag wrote in a signature signing. It's the start of a conversation, not the end of it. Of course there's going to be a back and forth and a negotiation, and that's the reason for this, is to open the door to negotiation with these developers, with lawmakers acting as mediators, basically, to find a common ground between the two, where the consumers get what they pay for, but the developers can still make what they want.
System. And all of this is, if you got something passed in the EU, it would be a very big deal because it's a big enough market that it would essentially change the gaming industry worldwide. Ultimately, with all that said, whether you're...
And we saw that with Star Wars, where the loot boxes and stuff got shut down in the EU and not the US, but that was a big enough market that they took the loot boxes out for the entire world and ended up changing Battlefront 2 to the Celebration Edition that removed all microtransactions.
Outsider to the situation, or you've been in the weeds on this whole thing, I'd really love to know your thoughts and reactions to what we've been seeing play out. And then you've got more...
Okay, well, that's the end of that segment. And we're not going to watch the rest of it because it's all like political stuff after that. All right, so let's see if I can find that Charlie video. I think I saved it on my Twitter. Let me pull that up real quick. And we are going to watch the entirety of his statement there instead of, there it is, instead of what Philip showed. So now you guys will get to see the whole thing so you can see exactly how he went in on Piratesoftware.
Not believe his ego. His ego is so out of control, I feel like he's only a week or two away from exclusively referring to himself in third person, like Stone Cold fucking Steve Austin. And that's the truth, cause Piratesoftware said so. Some shit like that. It's crazy how he's responded. The smugness is nails on a chalkboard. It just makes you feel icky listening to it. And he goes on that same talking point multiple times in the clip about how, like, oh, I guess I'm fully to blame. I guess because I made those videos 10 months ago, it's my fault entirely that this whole thing crashed and burned. Yep. Oh boy. Time to play a sad song on the world's smallest violin for the Stop Killing Games movement, all because Big Bad Piratesoftware took it all down by himself. Like, it's crazy. No one's saying that. Like, there is no one out there that is saying it is entirely...
I am. I'm saying that. His audience was big enough to fucking kneecap the entire movement. I'm saying that, Charlie. And you should too.
Entirely Piratesoftware's fault that Stop Killing Games hasn't been more successful in its endeavors. But there's irrefutable evidence that you had a detrimental effect. Not believe.
It was his fault. It was his fault. Charlie is playing the don't want to like start drama thing here. But his actions are speaking louder than his words. I know he thinks it because Piratesoftware had the most viewed video on the topic. And if the most viewed video on the topic is against the topic, yeah, that'll kill the that'll kill the conversation, man. Of course he's the reason. And everyone should agree on that. Jesus. But that smugness that he calls out, that is the reason that people watch Piratesoftware. They think that he's that smug because he's right. It's the manipulation effect that he has on stupid people. Oh God, it's so fucking infuriating. Is there another... Did I have another... video on that one? Anything else on this topic that I saved? I don't think so. Everything else is on the next... everything else on the next topic. Okay, so I saved some stuff today in Twitter that we're going to go over for the next topic. So I'm going to wrap this one up before we move on to the next topic. But it is his fault. He is an industry plant. I will be the one to just come out and say all the things to the nobody that's going to view my video. But on the off chance that someone does view it and needs somebody to say it for you, and you want to clip me and post me up on Twitter, if any bigger creators do happen to stumble across this, I'll just say it. Piratesoftware is an industry plant. All of his talking points sound like the same exact talking points that you would get from a CEO or a head of one of these companies that doesn't want these laws to pass. They are designed to fearmonger. They are designed to scare people into thinking that their favorite games will die, even though this doesn't retroactively apply to any games that are out now. And they want you to think that it is impossible to design a game any differently than we currently do. They found a way to make games that shouldn't be live services before, such as Avengers and Justice League and Suicide Kill the Justice League, etc. There's a large number of games that we can point at that weren't supposed to be live service games, and they found a way to make them so. So the opposite is also true. They can find a way to make live service games where they don't have to remain a service forever. This can absolutely happen. It happened with, something like Battlefront 2, where all those microtransactions and everything that would have made it a live servicey type game got pulled out, and the servers remained up. And people can also host private servers, if I remember correctly. Let me look that up real quick. Let's see. Star Wars Battlefront 2 server host. For the current server host. Let's see. I believe that there's like Star Wars Battlefront 2 server host. Here we go. Rent a server host. Yep. So you can rent server hosts. There's a number of different game server hosting sites that'll host Star Wars Battlefront 2 server host game and voice server rentals from this place. Yeah, they got a whole list of games. 7 Days to Die, Ark, all the way up to even stuff like Borderlands 2 if that gets shut down. So they got server hosts for that. Old and new games alike are on here. So it can be done. It just needs to be designed that way from the ground up as part of the game development process. If they can change the design of what should have been a single player game into a live service, they can change what should be a live service game into a game that can be still played after you shut down that service. It is possible. It's not this infeasibility, and that's what I'm talking about with the verbiage that Piratesoftware uses to try to make him sound intelligent. It's infeasible, and use these big words that sound scary. No, it's not impossible. It's not infeasible. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It's none of the things that he would have you think that they are if this is planned as part of the game design from day one. He is an industry plant and should be called out as such by bigger creators. And if they're scared to say it, then I'll say it, and you can feel free to clip me. I'll be your mouthpiece, just like he's Blizzard's fucking mouthpiece. Jesus Christ. God, just as if I didn't need more reason to hate Piratesoftware. He's a dick and he's anti-consumer. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. If you guys are new to the channel, I'm Deathwitch on everything. Be sure to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers so I can actually monetize these videos and make a few shekels. It would help out a lot. And be sure to leave your thoughts and stuff in the comments. If I'm missing something, let me know, because Piratesoftware kept telling us how it was impossible, but wouldn't tell me how. So if you guys know how and can explain in detail, I would love to hear it. Maybe I'll address it in a future video or get bored at work and actually respond to some comments. For now, though, thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.